see if somehow, say like the stars align and the Democrats just run ramshot nationwide over the Republicans, and some miracle they get a majority in the House.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Erica Harris.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Steele, and welcome to our special coverage of Southeast Texas Votes. We will be broadcasting live all night, sharing results and analysis on the major state and local races.
And boy, we have an exciting night ahead. We are live on 12 News Now, on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube.
And we've got numbers coming in already tonight. Let's get an update now on the Texas governor's race. The incumbent, of course, Greg Abbott. And Greg Abbott tonight in the early voting, which what we're seeing is, again, a reflection of only the early vote throughout the state of Texas. And right now, we show a slight lead for the former Dallas mayor, Lupe Valdez, on Governor Greg Abbott.
And of course,
50-49.
He's expected to breeze right through this race. As Kevin just mentioned, these are the early numbers that are in right now. Governor Abbott, he's the one that sort of had to be at the helm during Harvey, and he has touted his response to the storm, and many of his supporters said that he did a fantastic job during Harvey.
He's made many trips to Southeast Texas after Harvey. These early numbers may or may not reflect what we see later on. We can go to a live look at the Abbott campaign in Austin tonight. Folks milling about. They know that there is a long night ahead. This, if a victory for Governor Abbott, would put him in his second term.
Second term. Where they're gathering, the picture you just saw is in the Brazos Hall there in Austin, and it's expected to be a big night for him. Most recently, his last appearance was in Sutherland Springs this past Sunday, where there was a church shooting there in Sutherland Springs. So he was there to commemorate the one-year anniversary of that.
The polling numbers, which we have come to wonder about over the course of time, the polling numbers would actually show a double-digit lead for Greg Abbott. But again, in the early going, it's 50-49, Lupe Valdez.
Let's take a look at the Senate race.
Right.
I mean, this is the race that many of the pundits, analysts, whomever you want to ask, this is the race they say is driving people out to the polls. And here's a look at the numbers right there, Kevin.
If you take a single race and you look at what is driving the attention of Texans, it might be this race right here. Ted Cruz, the incumbent Republican, challenged by the Democratic El Paso Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who made a name for himself with his skateboarding, if not for many of his policy ideas. In a state that historically has not supported Democrats, but for 25 years, in fact, no major office has been held at the statewide level.
And let's talk dollars and cents with this race. This is considered one of the most costliest U.S. Senate races in history. We're talking about millions of dollars. And of course, Beto O'Rourke had the majority of that money coming into his campaign.
It's been an astonishingly vitriolic campaign at times. Ted Cruz in an SMU debate not long ago, as we take a look at some video of Senator Ted Cruz giving issue to his opponent. And as we saw the polls begin to narrow, Ted Cruz, it sounded as if he became a little harsher in his rhetoric against his opponent on the basis of his opponent's apparent support for the firing of a Dallas police officer, a white officer who was off duty and shot an African-American man, saying that he was, she thought he was an intruder in his home.
Right. We're talking about the case of Officer Amber Geiger there in Dallas. And Botham Jean is the victim in that case, and it has heated controversy surrounding that. But when we talk about this race, the county that a lot of people are watching tonight is Tarrant County. That is considered to be the Bellwether County, sort of speak. It has traditionally gone red, but Beto O'Rourke has spent a lot of time on the ground in Tarrant County. So it's going to be interesting to see those counting numbers come in by the breakdown on how people actually voted.
75% of the electorate in Texas, all in that triangle between Dallas, Houston, and the San Antonio, Austin areas, those more urban areas in many cases. If they were to have a big showing and turn for the challenger, Beto O'Rourke could have a very good chance at winning in a very hard-fought race.
Speaking of Houston, Harris County, I mean, we look at the early voting numbers here locally, but Harris County, those numbers were astronomical. We're talking about more than 1 million people voted early for this race. And so people are hoping that Harris County, Tarrant County, all those big metropolis, heavily populated counties in Texas will pull for O'Rourke. The Democrats are really waiting to see that, but they still have to face a lot of those rural counties in Texas that are traditionally Republican.
Very good. We are going to welcome in some of our ABC viewers to our programming in just moments. We'll take a quick pause for that.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. Welcome to our special coverage of Southeast Texas votes. We have an extraordinary race ahead of us, several races. We have an extraordinary night ahead of us. Results and analysis right here throughout the evening. We hope you'll stay with us.
No doubt about it, Kevin. Very exciting. We're live on 12 News Now on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube.
We've got you covered. You can just lock it in right here, and we'll take care of you throughout the evening as far as the information that we are getting into our newsroom tonight. The Texas governor's race, of course, at the top of the list, might be considered a marquee race of sorts. We are only seeing early voting numbers, but as you can see, the governor is up 54 to 44% on his challenger, the Democratic former sheriff of Dallas County, Lupe Valdez. We see, again, what may not be a representative example of the night's voting, but these are the early votes.
Right, and it's 1% reporting at this point. Of course, the incumbent, Governor Greg Abbott, is expected to breeze right through this race. And we have seen him a number of times here in Southeast Texas following Harvey with the recovery, and he's come to talk to us about our needs here in Southeast Texas. So he's touting his response to Harvey as one of his strong points this year.
Our NBC viewers will be joining us in just 15 seconds. Here's a look at Governor Greg Abbott. He, as we have said, has been in Southeast Texas many times and has promised full support.
As a former Supreme Court Justice and the Attorney General of Texas.
Hello, folks from our NBC station. Great to have you with us for our coverage of Southeast Texas votes tonight. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm Erica Harris. Thanks for joining us. And the numbers are already starting to come in tonight. We're going to take a look at the hot race. The race that a lot of people are talking about is the U.S. Senate race.
The U.S. Senate race between Ted Cruz, the incumbent, and the challenger, the El Paso Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who is showing a lead in the early going of tonight's election returns. Beto O'Rourke with a 51-49 lead on Senator Ted Cruz, a man who got himself into some political trouble with a very highly publicized squabble in the primaries against now President Donald Trump. The convention, the Republican National Convention, was what some conservatives considered a massacre for Ted Cruz. He took a lot of heat for not endorsing Donald Trump at that point.
But they made up, didn't they? Mr. President Trump, he was just in Houston not long ago, stomping for Senator Ted Cruz as we take a look at this heated race between the two candidates. And joining us now is Tom Tassinger from the Beaumont Enterprise. And
Great to see you, Tom.
It's been
good to be here.
An exciting night already.
Yes, it has been.
Well,
yes.
it's early going, but do you have some early observations?
Well, yes, as you've been saying, Governor Abbott will probably hold on over Lupe Valdez. She hurt herself badly when it was revealed she had thousands of dollars in back taxes due. That's not a good thing when you're running for statewide office to have hanging over your head. The Beto Cruz race is obviously going to be much closer, much more interesting. That could really be down to the wire. We'll have to see on that.
And let's talk about the money poured into this race. We're talking about the costliest race in U.S. history for a Senate run.
It's the first U.S. Senate race where more than $100 million has been spent by both candidates, which is interesting enough. And then Beto will probably outraise Ted Cruz, and you rarely see a Democrat outraising a Republican, especially in Texas. But we're probably going to have that happen this time.
This has been a phenomenal race. When we're speaking of O'Rourke, he vowed to go to every county in the state of Texas, and he's done over 300 town hall meetings. Do you think that this was his advantage, the ground game?
Yes, it is, because he came from nowhere. He was a congressman in El Paso, so you can't say he was completely unknown, but he did have a big statewide profile.
We'll say goodbye to our ABC viewers, and we want to remind you we will be on our digital coverage throughout the evening on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, and of course on our website at 12newsnow.com. We hope you'll check in with us throughout the evening. And NBC, by the way, we will be with our NBC viewers as well. So thanks so much for joining us and for taking a look at these early numbers in the voting tonight. These, again, representative only of the early vote primarily, and the voting done today on Election Day. That will be coming in later on in the evening. But for right now, we are seeing.
And we have a lot to go through, and as we were mentioning, the Senate race. And so let's talk about Ted Cruz and how President Trump actually, they made friends, and he
Yes,
came
they
out
did.
to Houston to support him, and that drew a tremendous crowd.
It did, and that has been happening all over the country. Republicans who trashed Donald Trump in the primary 2 years later are holding hands with him on stage as they campaign
Yeah.
enthusiastically.
We'll say bye to our NBC viewers, by the way.
Thank you so much for joining us on the NBC. Stay with us.
Welcome back as we continue our coverage of Southeast Texas votes. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm Erica Harris. Thanks so much for joining us. And joining us tonight, I would call you the political guru of
He's our
Southeast
guru.
Texas, Beaumont Enterprises,
Thank you.
Tom Tassinger.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
It's remarkable when you look at Beto O'Rourke having the ability, having the fundraising for that matter, and having the ability to travel to every county in the great state of Texas. That's a lot of counties.
It is 254 to be exact. He made them all. I don't think Cruz made them all. And some of the counties are in West Texas, lightly populated. It takes an effort to get there. Not many statewide candidates will hit all 254 counties. It is something to take note of.
Well, he had no trouble with gas money, right? I mean, he had the donors, and there were small donors
Right.
that his campaign.
In many cases, they were small donors.
Exactly.
He refused to take PAC contributions, which also is rare for modern politics.
He was dogged in the early going of the race by an incident many years ago in which he was driving drunk. He got involved in an accident. A witness at the scene said that Beto O'Rourke ran from that accident, and so he was criticized soundly for that. But at this point, early in the evening, it doesn't seem as if it's bothered him that much.
No, and Senator Cruz, when he was young, got a ticket for having an open container of alcohol in his car. Not quite a DWI, but something you don't necessarily want in your resume either.
Right.
So
Well, these
perhaps,
political candidates, they have a way of bouncing back from a lot of things out there.
Yes. It's hard to go through without something in your background popping up in an embarrassing way like that.
We have an
Okay, here's a
updated
look at the
number now.
updated numbers on the U.S. Senate race, and we have 1% reporting right now, and Democratic candidate Beto O'Rourke right now is ahead with 51% to Senator Ted Cruz's 48%. Not only is Texas watching this race, it feels like the entire world is watching this
No,
race.
absolutely, Erica. A Democrat, as you know, has not been elected statewide in Texas since 1998.
Here's the Ted Cruz rally, by the way, as we go through our evening. You can imagine there will be a whipped-up crowd here in Houston, Texas tonight as the supporters of Ted Cruz begin to muster on his headquarters there. A giant Texas flag in the background. Ted Cruz hoping that he can pull off a victory.
And I guess we can say money does matter, right? Beto O'Rourke poured in millions of dollars, to be exact, about in a 7-day period, $21 million, and that went into television, radio, online. I mean, wherever you could put it, they had the money to do that.
Absolutely, and in a big state like Texas, you've got to have money like that. Many media markets, a lot of small towns to travel to that you want to make a personal appearance. It's a tough state to campaign in.
And at some points during this election cycle, he had outraised his opponent 4-1, 3-1. It was an extraordinary effort just in terms of
And
fundraising.
he'll probably
behind
end up
support.
with more overall than Cruz, which again is rare.
It's
Yeah,
going to be
very
great
rare.
to see that county by county breakdown
Yes,
here.
yes.
And we're all watching Tarrant County. It's considered the Bellwether County for this particular race. Tarrant County has, gone red for many years, and Beto O'Rourke spent a lot of time in Tarrant County.
It does, yes. Beto is thinking he'll do well in the cities, and Cruz is hoping for gains in the rural areas. Obviously, they need votes from all over, but that's a key thing to watch.
What you're seeing at the moment, the Beto O'Rourke rally, what will be a rally in a little while, beginning to see people converge on this in El Paso, Texas tonight, the home of Beto O'Rourke, who has, by all accounts, put in an extraordinary showing for a Democrat in a deeply red state.
It's going to be interesting to see, too, how the two candidates fared in our local counties, Jefferson, Orange, Hardin. Any perspective on that? What are you hearing?
Well, the judges' race is going to be interesting with Nick Lampson and Jeff Branick, and you have the very interesting race for 172nd Judicial District Court. Those are two races that are going to be close. It could go either way. It's going to be very interesting to see how they turn out.
Here, the county judge standing, the incumbent county judge standing at the Rogers Park voting polling place, shaking hands. This one also a very big race in Jefferson County.
System has been something.
Have any pick on this one? Pick a horse.
That's going to be tough. I don't
Pick
think
a
that one's
horse.
going to be. That one's
Come
gonna be-
on, Tom.
Branick probably is given a slight edge, but Lampson is obviously the strongest candidate Democrats could have possibly put up. A former congressman, former tax assessor collector in Jefferson County many years ago. He is well known here as well.
A known quantity.
Right, and a former high school science teacher. We know all those science
Yes.
teachers, right? They usually know how to dot their I's and cross their T's.
Well, if you
Yes,
look at
yeah.
the past two cycles, in 2016 and 2014, if you were a straight party voter, then 60% of the time you were a Democrat. It's just the way it went. 57% in the last cycle, 2 cycles ago, 50%. So the straight party vote is very, very important to Jefferson County, and we still had that. By the way, HB 25, we won't have the straight party voting as of 2020. That's going to be a big deal.
Yes, this is the last major election with straight party voting. It is going to be very interesting to see how that affects voting in 2020. Absolutely.
House Speaker Joe Strauss pushed that very hard. The critics, the naysayers, if you will, said that Dan Patrick supported that bill primarily to help his son in the running for a district attorney's race and didn't like straight party voting. That criticism will continue. Politics, no stranger to criticism, of course. But yeah, it will be a paradigm shift of sorts when we can't go to the polling place and hit straight R or straight D.
And it's surprising because usually when one party was in power, they liked, like when Democrats held Texas many years ago, they liked straight ticket voting. Republicans have taken over lately. It's surprising that they gave it up or agreed to the change.
Well, when we talk about straight party voting, I think it's a new day in America.
Which ironically may be one of the areas, Tom, that you see people vote for, cross the party lines and vote for a Republican because this, by the way, is not 100%. But
I would gather it's probably 1% reporting at this point.
There's also been talk that some people who knew him as a Democrat have liked him as a person, as a candidate, and would be willing to maybe not punch the ticket straight party Democrat this time around and vote for Jeff Branick because they've known him, they've worked with him over the course of time. He says he brought millions of dollars into the county after Harvey as a way to help many of us who were hurt by this hurricane, tropical storm. Nick Lampson says not nearly enough money was brought into the county as this storm wrapped up and as people started to have a lot of difficulty getting FEMA money and getting back into their homes, and is quite critical of whether or not Jeff Branick actually even knew the number of people that had moved out of the county and had not returned.
All right, let's see how things are shaping up tonight. We're going to go to Jackie Massey, who's live right now at the Branick headquarters for their party tonight. Jackie, what can you tell us?
Kevin and Erica, people are just really excited right now with those early returns showing Jeff Branick above Nick Lampson in the polls with 51-48 right now. Just a lot of action right now. People just having a good time, mingling with each other. And I did just text Jeff Branick, and he says right now he doesn't want to jump to conclusions yet, but he says he's just excited. He wants to thank his supporters right now. And I also spoke to his mother, and when I told her that he was ahead right now with the early return, she teared up a little bit and told me that she's just very excited and very proud of her son. Like I said, this is a pretty unique race because in past elections, he's been running unopposed, and this time during this election, he's been running as a Republican instead of a Democrat. But like I said, just a pretty good atmosphere right now, just people hanging out, talking and mingling, just very excited about these results. And Jeff Branick told me that he will be heading over here in a few minutes, and once he comes in, I'm going to talk to him a little bit about these early election returns and see how he feels about that. So reporting live at Edison Plaza, Jackie Massey, 12 News.
Thank you
Very
so much,
good.
Jackie. And you can see people are starting to gather.
It's a festive atmosphere out there already. The music is being cranked up as we speak, and it should be a fun night, regardless of the circumstances and the outcome. You could bet there will be a lot of parties all around Southeast
And
Texas
one thing
tonight.
you cannot miss out on, we are definitely hearing from you on Twitter, on Facebook, all these social media platforms. Let's toss it over to Dejani Garrison, who's in our 12 News Social Center. Dejani.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Erica. So, as I mentioned over there, you cannot talk elections 2018 without talking social. So many things have been happening this term, and a lot of you all have been finding out via this phone. So what we're doing tonight is combing everything. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're posting, that's where we are going to be. Not only do we have the phones, we have like what, 1 million computer screens behind us. So guys, make sure you use the hashtag SETX votes. That's how we'll be able to easily find you, see what you're doing, who you're rooting for, and share your commentary here tonight. So I have Erica Walker and Mackenzie Hinkle. They're gonna be my sidekicks tonight. They're helping us make sure we don't miss anything from all of these social media platforms and getting it onto air. They're gonna be the go-to girls. Now our reporters, they've been out all day long, right? All day long, making sure they're in place as the results start to roll in. And I want to take you over to our tag board. That's where we'll see a couple of the tweets that they've been sharing so far. So first things first, Tyler Segerman. He is in the field, and he is showing us Mitch Templeton's wife, showing support for her husband. As you know, he is running for the 172nd District Court Judge. Now, if we go to the next tweet, his opponent, Melody Chappell, she's setting up shop at Sugar. So Eric Brill says, not too much going on right now, but keep in mind the polls just closed a couple of minutes ago. So I am sure the scene is going to change in just a bit as folks are getting off of work and heading to their prospective spots to watch those numbers come on and roll in. All right, now we're looking at Eric earlier today with Lauren Hensley. Our 12 News anchor was out in the field, and she says, old school campaigning out there with Nick Lampson. He was going door to door, knocking on doors, talking to folks, making sure they were voting, having their voices heard, that last minute effort to get every single vote, because we know it could come down to the wire on a lot of these races. All right, and then here's Lauren just a couple of minutes later. She says 5:30, more than 1,300 voters made their voices heard at Theodore John's Library. The polls were closing soon at that point, and we know now the polls are already closed. And then take a look. Tyler says polls are closed, and now supporters have gathered inside the Republican headquarters in Port Neches to see those results roll in. So you see how they're spending the night? We want to know how you are spending the night. Are you at home? Are you with friends? At a restaurant? Use that hashtag SETX votes, and we'll feature you right here. Guys?
Thank you so much, Dejani. We appreciate it.
People are definitely talking.
Boy, right?
About
They're out
this
there
election
watching this.
cycle.
I love that.
So
Democracy
many
in progress.
exciting races.
Yeah, that's it. Let's take a look at some local numbers we have tonight. We start with the county judge numbers. In Jefferson County, the county judge's race may in fact be the marquee race. Jeff Branick, of course, the incumbent in the race, and now in the early going, can't stress this quite enough, that in the early going, all these numbers could change dramatically by the end of the evening, but right now, just based on a representation of the early voting ballots that have been tabulated, Jeff Branick holds a 51-48 lead on 10-year Congressman Nick Lampson.
This is a very close race.
Very close race. It has been one where when you talk with political observers throughout the county, both men are widely liked and just really enjoyed as people. Here's a race for the 172nd District Court. In this one, Melody Chappell and Mitch Templeton are facing off.
And these are early numbers coming in. Mitch Templeton right now at 52% and Melody Chappell at 47%. Now, we knew that this would be a very competitive race.
A very competitive race. Again, two people that have been highly publicized over the course of time. Melody Chappel, obviously the attorney for the Beaumont Independent School District throughout some of its more troubling times before there was a board of managers and when there was a board of trustees. She had been criticized by many in the area for having done her service with Beaumont ISD. Her comments have been simply, listen, I was an advocate. That's what lawyers do. We're advocates. I was advocating for Beaumont ISD, and so she had in advance no knowledge of some of the media.
And she stands firm that not only was she an attorney for the Beaumont ISD, but for other local school districts as well. And if you didn't know this, both candidates, Chappel and Templeton, graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, and of course they both have affiliations with the Beaumont ISD. Mitch Templeton right now sits on the board of managers, and Melody Chappel, once again, a former attorney for the Beaumont ISD. And she said if she wins, she plans on continuing Judge Donald Floyd's legacy. And of course, it's also another historic race. If elected, she will be the first African-American female judge in Jefferson County. And she tells us that her experience as a former Beaumont ISD attorney has actually molded her, making her a stronger candidate because of all the media scrutiny. Mitch Templeton, he's very grounded here in Southeast Texas. He says that he's confident, actually, that he would be elected because his civil and criminal trial experience makes him stand out for the judge's seat. So, Tom, chime in with me on this race. I mean, you have two very qualified candidates with a little bit of similar backgrounds with their education. What's going to separate the two in this race?
I would say party affiliation and the elephant in the room, the BISD background. Melody Chappel would have gotten some criticism anyway because she was associated, rightly or wrongly, with the previous board. And ironically, Mitch Templeton is on the board of managers that was appointed to replace the BISD trustees who were removed. So there's a backstory there that's very interesting.
And when we think about the early voting numbers, this is actually probably another race that's driving people out to the polls.
It is, yes. Judicial races, quite honestly, are not always that interesting, and the voters may not know the candidates involved. I think the voters know these candidates this time.
And I think both of them have had a really good ground game as well.
Yes, and you have to. Certainly in a county race, they know it's knocking on doors, sending out mailers, doing whatever, showing up at shopping centers. It is all about campaigning, absolutely.
And of course, as Kevin mentioned before, that they're both well-liked candidates in the community. So I guess it's just a matter of the person that you think you can connect most with in this case.
It's going to be close. I think these are the two closest races, this and the county judge's race. I think both of those will go down to the last half hour of counting. Don't be surprised if both of those go either way.
Okay, well, let's toss it right over to Kevin. He has more perspective for the panel tonight.
Erica, thanks very much. It's extraordinary that we have this many experts on our panel all at one time. We have here on Southeast Texas Votes, we have a strong ethic to bring in as many smart people as possible to make up for me. So as a result of that, we have four fine gentlemen who are with us tonight and know a lot about Southeast Texas and Southeast Texas voting. Joining me, Kent Batman, the Hardin County GOP chairman.
Good to see you.
To my immediate right, we have W.L. Pate, the Beaumont City Councilman. These two gentlemen identifying as conservatives. We have Michael Lindsay with Lindsay and Parsons. Lindsay and Parsons, great to see you. And we have Michael Cole, the former candidate for the 14th Congressional District on the Democratic side. These two gentlemen identifying as Democrats. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Great to be here.
Nice to have a nice, bipartisan poll. Yes, should be a great evening. Where shall we start? Let's maybe start with the Senate race. The early numbers maybe not reflective of what we would expect to see at the end of the night in the Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz battle. What's our early perspective on how these numbers are turning out and whether Ted Cruz has a chance to maintain his seat?
Cruz and O'Rourke numbers are almost the same as all the other statewide races. So outside of Abbott and a few others, the early voting numbers all look the same.
Michael Lindsay, did Beto O'Rourke put together sort of the campaign of the century?
He put together a campaign of the century here in Texas. It's been fun to watch, and he's gotten a lot of national attention, and a lot of people are going to be looking to him in the future as well.
Michael, this is critical for the makeup of the United States Senate. It is critical down the road in terms of influence for Texas to maintain its importance in the national electoral picture. Our 38 electoral votes from Texas, they're pretty valuable to the rest of the nation and to the national candidates. It would be a great upset for Democrats if, in fact, Beto O'Rourke were to pull it off.
I mean, it's like everybody else has said, it's really too early to tell because most of the early voting usually tends to lean more Democratic than Republican in traditional counts. But I'll just throw this out here that if by some chance Beto O'Rourke does win tonight in Texas, that I honestly think that both houses will probably flip to the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, it is that close. In the United States House of Representatives, 23 votes are needed by Democrats to take control of the House, and just 2 seats are at play in the United States Senate. You know, we often talk about the pollsters, you know, and the Wall Street types who watch these very closely, and there's a lot of sentiment out there that the United States House is going to go to the Democrats, thus stalling any kind of agenda that President Donald Trump would want to put forth. What do you? Let me ask Mr. Pate what his thoughts are on this.
Well, one of the things you need to look at, we were talking about Beto just a second ago. If any of us had $80 million, I'm pretty sure we'd run a pretty substantial campaign for pick something. $80 million is a lot of money, even in Texas. Now, as it relates to the House, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that shapes up. Historically, with few exceptions, the party that's in as president usually loses. President Obama lost 63. I think President Clinton, that was the first time that the Republicans had controlled the House in 40 years.
Speaking on the Senate, what is it about Beto O'Rourke that has been successful, that has struck a chord for him to even be within 6 points in the University of Texas Tribune poll? Beto was down 6. For him to even be in the running, you know, was a big deal.
He's incredibly charismatic, and W. ought to say what he wants. Neither one of us can raise $80 million. People don't like us that much. But he is a likable guy, and I think he came across with a good, strong Democratic message, which is don't be afraid. Let's discuss immigration and protect health care reform in Texas.
Mike and I are on the same wavelength as it relates to Beto O'Rourke being a charismatic individual, which is one of the reasons.
He's quite a skateboarder as well.
Yeah, one of the reasons you have to be charismatic to go out and raise $80 million. However, as we know, it's I think 1994's last was the first election that the Republicans carried the whole state, and nothing's happened since then to change that. Even when we had some great candidates like John Sharp running statewide.
Sanchez ran for governor.
Yeah, and I mean, some really good Democratic candidates that appealed across the board. So it's going to be really interesting, to say the least. Has
Ted Cruz hobbled himself in his campaign in any way?
I think the only thing that hurts Ted Cruz is he's not as pretty as O'Rourke. If you
Yeah.
go to Florida, you look at DeSantis against Gillum, which, by the way, DeSantis is going to win. But he's not as pretty and he's not as smooth as Gillum is. And politics is popularity.
Yeah.
Popular kids are usually the best looking.
That brings up an interesting point. You know, this is not really, in a lot of ways, a persuasion election. This is a mobilization election. And is it, in fact, possible that Beto O'Rourke has struck a chord by just mobilizing and energizing Democratic voters across the state of Texas who are thoroughly put out, to use the Texas term, at President Trump?
I think it's a little bit of not only like a lot of Democratic energization against President Trump, but you also got to look in both like Ted Cruz himself. He is extremely unpopular amongst Democrats, and there are even some Republicans that are not too thrilled about him. And you said as far as like charismatic is, the last few election cycles, whether it's the presidency or the Senate, even local House races, it gets down to the candidate that can get the most enthusiasm out of his or her base. When you get a candidate no one's thrilled about.
Well, what do you think? Is that in fact the case?
The
That
most charismatic candidate for president always wins.
Are Republicans
races, not so much.
Are Republican voters energized? Is there anything about this election?
Absolutely. We have the absolute largest turnout we've had in Hardin County, and that surpasses general elections, and it was huge. It's huge for
That
Republicans.
mobilization, what do you think of that, Matt?
Well, you know, I think everybody ought to vote all the time.
There you go.
You know, it's a shame that they have to come up with some sort of reason to do it other than it's their civic responsibility.
Gotcha.
And one of the things, you know, Michael and I may not agree on a lot of things politically.
Gotcha.
But one of the things we do agree on is we want everybody to go out there, pick the candidate
Yes,
that they
sir.
think best represents them.
And with that,
and get the show on the road.
we'll have to wrap up, sadly, but we will be back to talk with these fine gentlemen throughout the evening. Be sure and stay with us. We're going to say goodbye to some of our viewers, and we'll be back with much more of our Southeast Texas Votes in seconds.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Welcome
Good evening,
back.
everyone. Thanks for joining us.
So great to have you with us. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm Erica Harris. What an election night it is.
It should be an extraordinary night. The interest in the 2018 midterms has been phenomenal. 58,000 early votes cast in Jefferson County alone. We've heard that the Hardin County early vote was a record number as well. People are really jazzed up about this election.
And we have some numbers for you. Let's take a look at the 172nd race. No, the judges race for Jefferson County, if we can get those numbers up right now.
The Jeff Branick race?
The Jeff Branick race.
Whoop, we'll switch over. Let's do 172nd. What do you say? Look at these numbers early on. Again, the Republican Mitch Templeton, the BISD manager, with 52% of the vote in the early going. Melody Chappel, the BISD attorney for many years and an attorney for several school districts, with 47% of the vote at this point early in the evening.
Yeah, very early in the evening.
So the argument here was whether Melody Chappel had adequately done her job as a BISD attorney, how much she knew about some of the controversies involving BISD. Here are the county judge numbers right now. Jeff Branick, 51-48, with a lead over Nick Lampson.
Let's check in with Jackie Massey, who's live out there tonight at the Branick camp. Jackie.
Kevin and Erica, we just heard a round of applause over here. People are pretty excited. Jeff Branick is ahead in the polls right now, and this is your little grandson. How cute is that? How are you?
Jackson.
Oh, Jackson, you must be so excited. And how are you feeling about being ahead in the early returns right now?
I'm pleased that I'm ahead as opposed to the alternative. And I realize that we've still got ballots to count from today's voting. There was some rather brisk turnout in a lot of the polls, both at traditionally Democratic strongholds and traditionally Republican strongholds. So we'll just have to wait until the totals are in, and then we'll see how we've shaken out.
And I know this race has been quite different than the other ones, because this time you actually have an opponent. So how has that been?
Well, it's much better to run unopposed. But I will say this, I've had the opportunity to meet some of the nicest people, to make new friends. People have been so generous, so kind to me. They've volunteered their time, they've walked neighborhoods, they've done so much that I just can't help, no matter what the outcome, feeling thankful for how we've been treated.
You must be feeling pretty good right now, being ahead.
Well, of course, it does feel good, but I'm an optimist, but not overly optimistic. So I realize that things could change, and we want to continue to watch it and hope that our lead continues.
With Thank you so much for speaking with us. And of course, we'll keep you updated on all the numbers with the election results. Reporting live in Beaumont, Jackie Massey, 12 News.
All right, wow, look at that. Jackie Massey reporting. Our digital coverage continues through the night.
12 News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We appreciate your being with us on Southeast Texas Votes. An exciting night. The turnout remarkable all around Southeast Texas and really all over the great state of Texas. And maybe that's because we have a lot of very good candidates on the ballots.
A lot of hot races on the ballot, but we want you to follow us. We're live on 12 News Now on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. So we will be having wall-to-wall coverage all evening, bringing you perspective and up-to-the-minute results.
Lots of ways to catch us tonight for the latest numbers. We have you covered at 12 News. We start with the governor's race, where right now, Governor Greg Abbott, the incumbent in this race, going into a second term if he's to win with a 54% lead, a 10-point lead, a 10 percentage point lead on his challenger, the former Dallas County Mayor Lupe Valdez.
And she's hoping to be the first openly gay Latina to ever hold that office. And right now we go to a live picture here. And which campaign is this?
We think this is the governor's campaign, although there was a large Texas flag, if you'll note, also at the Ted Cruz.
Exactly.
How does that happen?
Hey, when you're in Texas, you know, you never know. But when you see that Lone Star flag right there, you know we're somewhere in Texas, definitely.
Exactly. And in just a few minutes, or maybe a couple of hours, I guess I should say, the candidates are going to be expected to be at some of these watch parties, and they will be hoping that they can come in with a smile on their face. You would think from the polling numbers that Governor Abbott has a handy lead on Lupe Valdez, but you never know. It's early on in the night, for sure.
Let's go to the Senate numbers right here. I mean, this race has really been the one, a lot of people say, that are driving people to the polls. We have Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke and incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. The numbers are really early right now, but oh man, Kevin, look at these numbers. Beto O'Rourke with 50% and Ted Cruz at 49%.
Now, political observers say that Beto O'Rourke has been able to raise money like crazy all throughout his career, even as a congressman, and to get into the U.S. House to begin with. He has just been a real charismatic leader, able to raise money, able to ignite the interest of millennials, which may vote on a
right, and he says a lot of his money comes from small donors.
Some believe that the millennial vote itself is up in some of Texas' largest cities, some 600%.
Right, this is the race. This is the costliest race for U.S. Senate in history. We're talking about millions of dollars.
And with the balance of the United States Senate at hand, the two candidates having fought it out very hard in several debates. One had to be canceled, but in the SMU debate in particular, the notion of immigration policy and the way that the Senator Cruz handled the Dreamers. At one point, Beto O'Rourke charging Cruz that Mr. Cruz wanted to deport each and every single Dreamer. The way he put it. And Cruz shot back that O'Rourke is focused on fighting for illegal immigrants and that all Americans
and O'Rourke,
are
he has maintained that he just wants comprehensive immigration policy. And let's switch gears and take a look at another race people are closely watching tonight. Here back at home is the county judge race, Jefferson County judges race. And right now these are early numbers coming in, and Nick Lampson, who's the Democratic opponent, he's come back on the scene as a politician, right? He has 48% right now to incumbent Jeff Branick at 51%.
Well, I thought it was interesting just minutes ago, Jeff Branick saying, and I quote, "It's much better to run unopposed." That sort of resonated a little bit. Lauren Hensley is out live tonight covering some of our important races, and all of our 12 News crews.
Yeah, she's with the Lampson campaign at Sugar's tonight, Lauren.
Erica and Kevin, I'm live here at Sugar in Beaumont, and I'm joined by Nick Lampson. Now, Nick, the early numbers show that Jeff Branick is slightly ahead. What is your reaction to those early numbers?
Well, early. Those are the first things that were reported, and at this point, let's just wait, sit back, and still be hopeful.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm enthusiastic. We've had a wonderful effort to organize people to reach out to this community. with every campaign I ever have run, it has been something that gave me a new knowledge about my community. And I certainly can say that about this race. The people that I've met, the people that took the time to come and volunteer to help, the people that have told me their stories about being out of their homes, the problems that they've had with storm recovery, those things have really made an impact on me. And I'm very hopeful for our future and looking forward to the opportunity to be able to be of service to our great community.
And things really kicked off at this watch party with a wonderful performance from a dance group called Rule Theater or Dance Group. What's the environment like here at the watch party?
Excited. They are pumped up. Everyone is. That has been a great day for every volunteer that is in this room. People have been enthusiastic. They have been willing to go from early in the morning until late in this evening, and they are very hopeful and expecting of victories for the Democratic Party tonight.
And I gotta ask you, Nick, how are your legs feeling? For our viewers who don't know this, we caught up with you earlier today. You began walking door to door, so you must have clocked some miles. So how are you feeling?
I feel fine. I do a lot of walking, and so I'm in good shape. But we did walk a lot.
Why is that so important that you go door to door?
Because it's incumbent upon a person who wants to be a public servant to understand the needs of the people. This isn't about service for what I believe should be done for my community. It's about what I can do to be a leader and pull us together, look to the future, find what the people are interested in doing, and then do my best to implement it for them.
And
talking to them, being with them there is critically important.
And you actually connected. We watched a woman who didn't have transportation. You were able to connect that woman to transportation to head to the polls tonight.
Indeed. She didn't have an ability to get to the poll. We arranged that for her. Later, I ran into just a few houses down a young lady who was fed up with politics and said she would not vote. I talked with her mother. I asked her if I could talk with the young ladies because she was 19 years old, I think a junior or sophomore at Lamar. I talked for probably 15 minutes to her and convinced her that it's important to do our duty and express our concerns and our interests at the ballot box. She went to the polls. I was proud of her.
Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck to you and all the candidates tonight. We're going to send it back to the studio. Erica and Kevin reporting live in Beaumont. Lauren Hensley, 12 News.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We're going to see just how much this ground game pays off, all that walking he did today.
That's it. Every single vote counts. And remember, we've had in just the last cycle, Clint Woods winning that race with 400 votes. I mean, just a few votes can make a big, big difference in many of these races.
And of course, a lot of you are following us on our social media platforms, and we want to keep it coming. Let's check in with Dejanique Garrison right now at our social center.
Dejanique, what are people saying out there?
Hey guys, so like I said, we've been tracking social all day long, and here's a post from Facebook that I thought was just too special not to share with everyone. It says, shout out to Miss Clover. She is 101 years old, and she is leaving the polling site with her I voted sticker. I saw so many of you guys with that sticker joining the club now. Is Miss Clover 101 years old, and I have to add, she looks too good to be 101 years old. We might have to fact check that age. So looking at a couple of the comments people had to say, Quinn writes, thank you, Miss Clover. Joe says, awesome, awesome, awesome. Then we have Sonia who says, Miss Clover looks beautiful and blessed. Sonia, I definitely agree. So I have Erica joining me here right now because this reminds me of a post that you shared early this morning. So Erica was on Facebook and Instagram and talked to us about why people like Miss Clover inspired you to vote. Erica?
So she inspires me because she was around during, the civil acts rights movement, everything going on, when we were fighting to get a vote. So this is a post I did this morning on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. And I just put the reason why I vote. I vote for people like Miss Clover. As a woman also made up of two minorities, I am Mexican American and African American. My ancestors, fought for the right to vote, even being a woman. So for me, I don't want their work to go unnoticed and their efforts and their strides. So for me, that is why I vote. I vote every election, and that's just so inspirational to see someone like her, voting.
Still voting, still out there making it happen. And maybe someone gave her a ride to the polls. Maybe you were a person who knocked on your neighbor's door to say, hey, do I need to help you out? We want to know your voting stories from today and your early voting stories, because we know so many folks got out before today, record-breaking early voting numbers. So guys, again, use that hashtag SETXVotes and let us know your inspirational voting story. We'll share them in a little bit.
Thank you so much, Dejanique. And she brought up, I'm so glad she brought up their early voting numbers. It was amazing. I don't think we've seen anything like this
Again,
in recent history.
58,000
58,776 to be exact.
Joining us to give some additional perspective on these matters, we have Tom Tashinger with the Beaumont Enterprise joining us to talk politics as always. Overall observations when you see the Branick-Lampson race. Again, two men considered just very nice men. I don't know anyone who says that personally that they've met anybody and said that personally I don't like them. The policies, I guess, are more in question with these two candidates, but right now very much neck and neck.
Yes, two strong candidates, Kevin. This is a race with two heavyweights, frankly.
Yeah.
You rarely see that in Jefferson County. You might see one person with this stature running for post. You have two this time. Either one of these men could win it.
Yeah, the party switch by Jeff Branick, did that hurt him a lot with Democrats? Lampson has publicly said that he was offended, that he was hurt by it, that he felt enough notice was not given. Branick shot back with the notion that, well, I'd given the party a year and a half worth of notice, and so he said, I think that speaks to character. What do you make of the party switch?
It didn't go over well with Democrats, clearly. Republicans liked it. You'll get some Democrats that will cross over and vote for Branick anyway, but it was not a popular move in the Democratic Party, no question.
He said he had to do it based on some immigration concerns and just
fiscal concerns as well, is what he's saying.
And just, his fundamental views that his children's and grandchildren's futures would be better if, he were a Republican.
Well, Kevin, Southeast Texas in Jefferson County and in Hardin County have seen many elected officials switch affiliations. This is not an uncommon thing. In Hardin County, it was 4 or 5 years ago, perhaps. In Jefferson County, it's a bit more recent, but it's not an uncommon thing at all.
What do you think is driving that? Do you think they're riding on the Trump wave?
Yeah.
I think it's larger than that. Texas is overall a solidly Republican state. That much is evident. Jefferson County has always been a bit of an outlier, a place where Democrats were strong. And I think these elected officials, if it weren't their convictions guiding them, they saw the future and they thought, I'm going to have a better chance to stay in office as a Republican.
See, Erica, that's just where I was going with that notion. Jefferson County actually voted for Donald Trump. A 3 percentage point
I was
victory
wondering
for
if they're
Donald
seeing
Trump.
the writing on the wall there. Maybe it would be to their advantage to do so.
Is it too early to say that there's been a wholesale switch, though? Because there are a great many precincts in Jefferson County that seem to remain reliably Democratic.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. Trump won Jefferson County 2 years ago. I think only the second Republican in the modern time to do that. You also saw a black Democrat elected sheriff in that same election. So there were votes on both ways in that election. It was really hard to say there was a definite tip one way or another.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing you might have this time. After Harvey, it was said that 4,000 to 5,000 people left the county, most of them from South County, presumably Democrat. It'll be interesting to see when the final numbers are counted if that indeed is a subtraction from the overall
So
voting
we
numbers.
could still be seeing some of the effects of Harvey this
I
political
can say
season.
there's no question that some voters left. The question is, will it be enough to make a difference and affect some of these close races?
But when you're talking about early voter turnout, almost 59,000 people, I mean, would you think those votes would make a great impact?
It's huge. A thing to remember, though, about early voting is every election there are more and more people voting early. Not necessarily more votes overall, but more and more people. I think in Jefferson County alone, by midday today, 40% of all registered voters had voted early.
40%?
Yes. Now this is going to be a high election. We're going to have a high turnout. But again, what's happening is that Election Day itself is kind of the tail on the dog.
Right.
And most of the voting has already occurred, and you're getting 25% perhaps.
Well, let's take a look at some of those numbers in the Jefferson County races. And the county judge race, which is the big one tonight, and these are still early numbers reporting. Jeff Branick, the Republican incumbent, at 51%, and Democratic opponent Nick Lampson at 48%. Once again, these are still just early numbers that are coming in.
Let's pop right on through some of these races tonight. In the 172nd District Court battle, Mitch Templeton has a narrow lead on Melody Chappel, 52 to 47%. The numbers right now early on. The county clerk's race, right now, Bailey Wingate has 50% of the vote.
But look at those numbers, very close, very
49%.
close race.
Yes, again, a very close race, yes.
And Charlie Hallmark right there at 49%. Tim Funches, we're talking about, maybe we're moving towards red here in Jefferson County, but right now with 50%. Still another close race.
The Precinct 1 Constable's race, Charlie Wiggins in office right now. He, right at this point, has 48% of the vote, but Javon Pollard has 51, almost 52% of the vote in the early going.
And the mayor race in Groves there, take a look at this, and Brad Bailey there, he still has a pretty good, comfortable lead at 48% of the vote.
The incumbent in that race clearly in a bit of a boondoggle with Cross Coburn, the sitting councilman. Right now in the Grove City Council Ward 2 race, it is Karen Tice with a 65% number in the early going, Corey Perry with 34% of the vote at this time. In the Ward 4 race in Groves, again, Kyle Hollier, the sitting incumbent councilman.
Where the incumbents appear to be a bit safe tonight there in Groves on
61% of the vote.
Okay, this is one a lot of people are talking about, the recall for Cross Coburn. And right now, 64% for and 35% against.
About 900 votes separating. Many voters at this point, early on, saying that they are for recalling and ousting Cross Coburn from office, essentially. Exciting races all around. And as we stay with this notion of Groves and its recall election, it's been a controversial scenario
to say the
really
least.
Throughout. Nude pictures showing up at media outlets and at the city council. Cross Coburn, the 19-year-old openly gay man who has never really made any contention that he had done anything wrong. He admitted no wrongdoing. His attorney worked with him throughout to try to negotiate terms
right.
with
and
Mayor
with this
Bailey.
petition, there's been a judge's ruling on this petition that could really, this recall election could all be voided out.
That debate, the notion of whether there were forged signatures
Exactly.
and or some failure in the 900 or so petition signatures that needed to be gathered in order for the recall election to go forward, representing 10% of the voters in the previous election cycle. That recall petition was officially made a part of the Groves scenario, but now Judge Donald Floyd, in a last act in his office, essentially ruling that he will grant a motion to reconsider that notion. So it's debatable as to what the results would even have.
Right, we're going to pause for now, but stick with us online on all the social media platforms. We'll be right back.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. We are proud to welcome our ABC viewers to our Southeast Texas Votes coverage. Tonight we begin with the governor's race. Governor Abbott, well in charge of this race so far. I almost went back to Governor Perry. There was a brief, decade-old
Okay, the Associated Press has called this race. Governor Greg Abbott will do a second term here. He is the winner tonight, and of course this was predicted to happen. And of course, we here in Southeast Texas have been in touch with the governor since Harvey. He's made a number of trips here to Southeast Texas to talk about storm recovery. And here's a look right now. I think the celebrations are beginning here, and this is the Brazos Hall there in Austin, where the governor of Texas now
exciting night there.
beginning his second term. This is where his watch party is in Austin tonight, and the band is on a stage. And I wonder if they've gotten the news yet. They seem so enthralled with the band, but definitely Governor Greg Abbott wins tonight with 54% of the vote.
Well, Governor Abbott has been in a hard-fought race. We're going to pause here for our NBC viewers joining us in just a couple of seconds.
And stay with us online.
Good evening. Welcome to our Southeast Texas Votes coverage. Thanks for joining us, NBC viewers.
And I'm Erica Harris. Thank you so much. It's been an exciting night already. And we have a winner in the governor's race tonight. Let's take a look at those numbers. 54%. And Greg Abbott wins a second term.
He's going to be in a second term. He has been to Southeast Texas, as we've said many times, in an effort to show Southeast Texas that he cares from a state vantage point. He cares about the recovery efforts and really whether Southeast Texans are able to rebuild their lives after the terrible flooding.
Let's check the U.S. Senate race. This is the big one between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. And take a look at these numbers right now. We have 4% reporting. O'Rourke right now at 51% of the vote, and incumbent Senator Ted Cruz at 48%.
Senator Ted Cruz always saying that Texans want a border wall, and it became a point of contention between the two right now. And if there would be an upset in this race, it would be an extraordinary.
This would be a very big
nationwide
one,
deal.
and immigration has been a very hot topic. And of course, as you mentioned, Senator Cruz said that he wants that border wall in line with what President Trump is saying, and Beto O'Rourke is saying that he just wants comprehensive immigration policy.
The caravans also, the caravans of the Central American immigrants coming to America. That also has been a big point of contention in the Senator Ted Cruz, Beto O'Rourke race. Let's take a look at our local race involving the county judge, Jeff Branick, fighting for his life in a battle with Nick Lampson, with high name recognition throughout Southeast Texas, having served as tax assessor collector for years and having served for 10 years as congressman.
And a lot of people may not remember this, but Lampson was a high school science teacher as well. But these are two heavyweights going toe-to-toe tonight, and boy, look at that. 48-51, very close race.
Very close race, and as we've said before, you can run in two ways, unopposed or scared, and both of these candidates scared enough to campaign late into the going. Nobody is cruising down the home stretch, so to speak, of this political
campaigning
race.
Down to the very last minute.
Door to door. We will say goodbye to our ABC viewers. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stick with us on our social media platforms. And boy, it's been an exciting night, Election Tuesday. And right now you're looking at the numbers for the Jefferson County judges race, a very close race. Still, early numbers are coming in. And right now, incumbent Jeff Branick, the Republican in this race, at 51%, and Democratic opponent Nick Lampson at 48%. And they were actually out there very last minute. Lampson out going door to door, and Jeff Branick at some polling locations.
Let's quickly check our numbers for the 172nd District Court Judge. In this one, Mitch Templeton has 52% of the early vote. Melody Chappel with 47% at this time. An extraordinary race in and of itself. Hard fought by both candidates right there.
And for now, we're going to say goodbye to NBC, but please stick around on our social media platforms for more election night coverage.
12 News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Erica Harris. Thanks for joining us for an exciting night of 12 News election coverage. And many of you,
I'm Kevin Steele. Great to have you with us. We really appreciate it. It's been an exciting night already. We got to hear about 101-year-old Miss Clover having voted earlier tonight.
Exactly, and that came to us on Facebook.
That's
a lot
right.
of you are following us now on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. Let's toss it over to Dejanique Garrison, who is in our social center tonight. Dejanique.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Erica. Hey, you guys, wherever you are watching out there in Southeast Texas and all across the nation. We are so excited to have you. It's a big night all across America, and we are bringing you the results minute by minute. So, Governor Greg Abbott, no big surprise that he's holding on to his seat. I mean, the polls have been showing he's been taking it since day one.
Yeah,
right?
He had it hands down, pretty much.
He had it hands down, and I think he knew he had it because hours before the polls even closed, Governor Abbott tweeted this: "We're setting up for a Texas-sized victory party tonight at Brazos Hall in downtown Austin," and he's telling everyone to join him a couple of minutes ago, 7 o'clock, for a big celebration. Of course, he has the Texas flag in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Governor Greg Abbott had a huge term. We dealt with Harvey.
Yep.
He was on the ground helping folks, shaking hands.
He was here
in
helping
Southeast
out.
Texas so much. Not only that, when we had the shootings in Sutherland.
He was there.
He was there when we had the shooting right in our own backyard, a school shooting.
Yep.
He was there. So I think that all of those tragedies, although horrible for the community, it gave him an opportunity to be able to get to his constituents in their communities.
Absolutely.
People were able to relate to him. He was able to relate to people, and I think that translated in the vote. So another term for Greg Abbott. So, Mackenzie, we do something called social listening around here. And that is when you're sending us stuff, you're tweeting us stuff, and you're saying, hey, I want you to post it. And sometimes we're able to do just that. So you want to tell the folks what we got in our inbox a little while ago?
Yes, their teacher, Brittany. These are kids from Lucian Adams Elementary in Port Arthur. So cool. Couldn't vote during Harvey. Their school flooded, so they had to kind of move back that they're voting for their student committee. So they voted today. Perfect day to vote. It's election day. And she sent us the videos, and it's so great that we're teaching young kids
civic responsibility.
Exactly.
So I think we have those videos to show you guys. Let's take a look.
Make your voice heard. One person, one vote. Just do it. Vote. Every vote counts. We all vote. Your vote is your voice. Vote today.
Oh my goodness, that is so cool. And did you catch the part where they had the I voted
on their hands?
on their hands? So what they were trying to do is emulate the I voted stickers that all of you have been posting all over social media. And this just goes to show you how kids are watching and they are listening and they are pretty much duplicating what they see happening.
They watch us.
They take their lead from us. And, you know, it sucks because sometimes during these types of contentious races, things get a little dirty,
Heated,
you know, name calling and mudslinging. But when you watch videos like that, it's just such a humbling reminder that there are always eyes on you. And those are going to be the politicians and the leaders of the future. So how would you want them to act?
Absolutely.
So I think our politicians should take a note from those kids, right?
Round of applause to that elementary
Round
school in
of
Port
applause.
Arthur.
Thank you guys for sending that to us. Not only are the kids watching, the celebrities are getting involved with
and we're
voting.
watching them.
All right, Mackenzie, you want to sound off?
Demi Lovato saying, I am so grateful to be home in time to vote. One vote can make a difference, so make sure your voice is heard. And she went through a lot this year, and she's getting out to vote.
Oh, yes. So this is actually her first tweet post-rehab. As you
Really?
guys know, Demi Lovato, she had a drug overdose. She had to go to rehab. She'd been off the scene, rightfully so. She needed to get herself together,
But
and
here
she
she
chose
is.
this moment to be her comeback to social media. All right, let's take a look at who's next. All right, Katie Couric came around 10 a.m. thinking it wouldn't be crowded. It was packed. So Paris Kane, one of our reporters, she says it's been packed for days, right?
Yeah, it has.
No matter what time you went, you're probably gonna see some lines. She said, I hadn't even had my coffee yet. Took about an hour, but now that I'm done, it feels so great. She's asking for your pictures, and we want your pictures as well. So use that hashtag Southeast Texas Votes, SETX Votes. All right, next up.
My Grey's Anatomy lovers.
I think we're going to have to fight for this one. I mean, you want to be my person for tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ellen Pompeo, she has her I voted sticker. I'm feeling her glasses too,
I know,
Mackenzie.
I'm liking it.
Okay. Now,
Reese
Reese Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
I voted. How about you? Why does she look so fabulous even
All
in
the
this
time.
selfie?
Have you seen her daughter?
They look virtually like the same person. All right,
know.
who else is voting today? Who we got?
Jimmy
Fallon. All right, with the shades. Vote with a friend. I like that concept. Folks have been talking about that community voting, knocking on the neighbor's door, bringing someone in your family, carpooling to the polls, anything to make sure everyone's voices are heard. And those numbers we're looking at, seems like these campaigns have been working, right? All right, who else is up?
Jennifer Garner.
Who
Who looks good without makeup on.
Fresh face challenge, not necessary for this beauty. All right. Who else is talking about voting? Drew Barrymore. Another fresh face beauty.
I know.
Killing it. All right. Jessica Alba. Look at her squad. First of all,
love it.
before we even get to the voting, how beautiful are these children?
She says, I vote for my kids and the world I want to raise them in that values equality, common sense, fairness, and kindness. Why do you vote?
Why do you vote? So what about you, Mackenzie? Want to answer that question? Why do you think it's so important to vote?
I vote for my future kids. No, that's not something I'm thinking about right now, but I vote for them, for a world that they could live in.
For those who came before and those who will come after. All right, let's take a look at one more before we toss it back to Kevin and Erica. Mandy Moore. So I'm like re-standing her. Like I loved her when I was a preteen, and now I love her because of the
This Is Us.
hit show. This Is Us says, I did it. Now it's your turn. Well, we know for most of the country, polls have closed at this point, but we hope you all got out, made your voices heard. For now, we're going to send it back over to Kevin and Erica.
Dejani, thanks so much.
Thanks. A lot of
exciting
stuff on
Listen,
social media.
When you're talking Mandy Moore, let's halt everything else we're doing and talk Mandy Moore more often, not less. That's the way I figure it. Now, actually, let's take a look at some new local numbers coming in on Southeast Texas Votes. And this we're going to see tonight. We are going to see some upsets. We're going to see some thrilling political races. Right now, we know that the numbers are still 51-49 with Jeff Branick, the incumbent of the Jefferson County judge's race, still in a narrow race with Nick
Extremely
Lampson.
tight race. These
This
are
one
heavy
hasn't-
hitters here, and
hasn't changed much,
these are
this one.
still the early numbers coming in.
That's right. These have not changed much. Let's take a look at the 172nd District Court Judge's race. Mitch Templeton, the Beaumont ISD Board of Manager, and a prominent local attorney who wants to expand on the duties of the 172nd. Donald Floyd's court, traditionally a civil court, and Mitch Templeton believes that it would do well for Jefferson County if it were to expand into some criminal cases as well. Melody Chappel, the former BISD attorney, with 48% of the vote right now.
And let's take a look at the county clerk's race for Jefferson County. Carolyn Guidry right now with 51%.
These are new numbers, yes, that we're starting to get.
Been a little movement. Bailey Wingate with 49. Still another tight race.
Clearly waiting throughout the evening as the registrars and as the clerk's office tabulates numbers and begins to put these in. How about this for a virtual dead heat? With 30,600 votes, Charlie Hallmark is barely edging Tim Funches, the incumbent Jefferson County treasurer.
And I heard he counts every single penny.
They'll
And
take them
Constable
all.
for Precinct 1, Javon Pollard, right now with 52% over Charlie Wiggins with 48%. Still early numbers coming in, a very close race here. These are a lot of close races tonight. So when you hear people say every vote counts, it may just come down to that.
That's right. 400 votes, 800 votes separating some of the candidates in the last election cycle. And it appears that there is a sort of a deeply divided political ideology in Jefferson County still today. In the city of Groves, we move there where Brad Bailey, the incumbent mayor, has an edge at this point, but not a very great edge. 1,500 votes for both of these candidates at this time. Suzanne Williamson, who was instrumental in the entire controversy regarding Councilman Cross Coburn, she's been instrumental, and right now she is narrowly falling in this race to Brad Bailey, the incumbent mayor.
And let's look at the council seats here for Ward 2. Karen Tice at 65%, Corey Perry 35%. So the incumbent here is still maintaining a very decent lead in this particular race.
That seems to be the case in the Kyle Hollier race as well. 61% of the vote right now over Daniel Diaz. That in the Ward 4 race in Groves.
And this is the one that's caused a lot of controversy and it's getting a lot of attention. This is the recall election for one of the council members, Cross Coburn.
And to be more precise, from earlier comments, it's unclear at this point the results of this vote, whether it will ultimately stand because of a motion to reconsider whether the recall petition was adequately arrived at to begin with. So we'll have to see.
Exactly. There was just a judge's ruling not only long ago, so these votes may not even count at this point. So whatever happens tonight, it could quickly change.
Very, it's a night where we have some very close races. It seems to me that we have emerging as a theme already just extraordinary interest, not only in Southeast Texas, but all across Texas, to get out and vote, make your voice heard, be a part of the democratic process. 1.6 million more Texans registered to vote this year.
Let's go out to William Blanchett. Right now he's with the Templeton campaign. William, what is it like out there tonight?
Hey guys, it's a lot of people. We're actually at the Republican headquarters in Port Neches, and I'm standing in front of Mitch Templeton, who's running for the 172nd district judge for Jefferson County.
Right.
We just got some updated percentage. You're up a little bit from Chappel. What do you think so far?
Well, it's a horse race. It's going to be a close race. This is a county that's been dominated by the opposing party for 150 years. They still have a very strong presence here, even though things have been trending in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. But it's going to be a close race, and we're going to have to get all the votes in to see who wins.
Does it feel good after, I'm sure you've been working hard for the past 2 weeks, and then we're not that far away from finding out the results?
Right. Let me tell you, I have enjoyed this process so much. I've enjoyed running, and the people that I've met and getting to know the county and getting to do it with my wife of 32 years has been very special. So it's all been very good.
Yeah, she was actually at the Nederland location, and she was holding up your signs. She was trying to get people to come in to vote.
Right.
So she's really been supportive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She's my #1 fan and my harshest critic, which is, I think, what a good spouse does. And she's my high school sweetheart, been with her for 32 years. Love her very much.
Yeah. Last question, are you nervous?
No.
We're not that far away.
I am not nervous at all. I've done everything I could do. I understand how this works. It's up to the people. Hopefully the Lord's will and the people's will is aligned, because the people are going to decide it, and we hope it's the right decision, but it's up to the people. I know how the system works. I've had a great time doing this. I've given my best effort. I'm completely at peace. Not nervous at all.
That's good to hear. Anything else you'd like to add, Templeton?
No, I would just like to thank my supporters very much, especially my law partner, Dean Brinkley, and my family that has supported me all the way. And I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, thank you so much, Templeton. Good luck, okay? All right, we'll be out here doing cut-ins all night, so make sure to stay tuned, and we'll keep you guys updated. Guys, back to you.
Thank you so much, William. And as Mitch Templeton just said, it's up to you, the voters, at this point, to get more perspective on this race and other races. Let's toss it over to Kevin Steele with the panel tonight.
Erica, thanks so much. Yes, we are joined by our astute gentlemen who are always willing to give their 2 cents, and yet really many of these opinions are only worth a cent and a half, to be honest. Am I right?
That's straight.
I'm kidding, folks. Kent Bettman, the Hardin County GOP chairman, joining us along with W.L. Pate, the Beaumont City councilman. Michael Lindsay with Lindsay and Parsons is here, leaning to the left, and Michael Cole leaning to the left as well. These two gentlemen, Republicans. In the early going, the Ted Cruz race, very tight. We perhaps began to come to a point where we didn't believe the polling numbers as much as represented in what happened in the presidential race in 2016. But these poll numbers seem to show a pretty close race in advance of tonight, and so far, a pretty close race. Maybe the polling is not as bad as it seems. I turn it to you, W.L. Pate.
Well, you know, one of the things that I think all of us here, because we're friends, can look at and say, you know, Beto's run an excellent campaign. Senator Cruz has run an excellent campaign. So it always goes back to who turns the votes out. And in this case, on election day. Routinely, the Democrats have always had a much better ground game than Republicans.
Why is that?
Well, they figured it out a long time ago.
The demographics, is that what we're arriving at? Why
I missed that memo. The Democrats are 500,000 votes short in Texas, and on a rainy day, they don't have cars.
I think you're talking about the 60s, W.L. In the 60s, they had a hell of a
Well, you appreciate how old I am. I've been studying politics since the last century, you know. And I can remember, I wasn't here when George Washington got elected, but I was when George H.W. Bush got elected. But no, that's just it. And that's one of the great things is we have so many people that are turning out to vote.
Is it going to be easier going forward from a Democratic vantage point? Gentlemen, will it be easier for outside money to come in, for the activists to be able to push for certain demographic groups that traditionally support the Democratic Party, the Latino vote? Will that be easier, for example, the Latino vote, will that be easier going forward if Beto O'Rourke is to pull off an upset tonight?
I really don't think so. I think what will happen if O'Rourke wins tonight, what you'll end up having is you'll have, of course, Democrats congratulating themselves on winning something that hasn't happened since 1988, the Democrats winning a Senate seat in Texas. But on the same sense is you'll have Republicans sit there and look at which demographics they lost in. If the Republican Party is smart, and no one would ever say that the state Republican Party is anything but intelligent when it comes to campaigning, they'll look at where they can win in Latino communities, where they can win in African American communities, and if nothing else, it will just put that Texas will become more of a state where politics aren't taken for granted. We won't sit there and go, well, he's a Republican, so he's going to win next year, or she's a Democrat, she doesn't have a chance.
Michael, do you agree with this assessment?
I agree with that, and I would just add and both sides are getting their people out tonight, and I think this is just kind of a warm-up for 2020 because I think both sides are going to bring out the vote.
Will it be the kind of 2020 where Texas may no longer be considered a reliably red state, a conservative state? What are your thoughts?
You'd have a tough time saying that if you look at the governor's race.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, Abbott running against a Latina did very, very well, and I think the numbers are going to be better and better. I think, if anything, GOP Latino numbers in Texas have improved drastically over the past 5 to 10 years.
Well, one of the things that I really like about as we have progressed is that we can talk to people about issues that count to them and not just count a certain group, well, they're going to vote Republican or they're going to vote Democrat. Right. Let's talk about, hey, this affects you. If there's a tax cut and there's more money in your pocket, hooray for you. And that's not Democrat and Republican.
Yeah. Let me pull this back down to the county level, guys. I went back to check my numbers. It wasn't a 3 percentage point victory for Donald Trump in Jefferson County alone. It was less than that. 48.9% of the vote went to Donald J. Trump. 48.4% of the vote went to Hillary Clinton, making Jefferson County, in that case, a Donald Trump county. Extraordinary, historical, and what does it mean for the future of the Democratic Party in Jefferson County? Michael?
I think the Democratic Party in Texas is going to revolve around the big cities, the urban areas, and whether you believe it or not, Beaumont is not a big urban area, and we're not voting like the big urban areas.
Does the Texas Democratic Party put as much into Jefferson County candidates as it could and as it should? Michael Cole?
I think that it could push better in Southeast Texas in general. I think to a large part, like Michael says, is the Democratic Party is pushing towards Harris County and Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso. And for at least for the short term, it seems like that the state party has given over Southeast Texas as being a red area for a while, hoping for the best, but
Gentlemen,
not expecting most.
Yes, thanks so much for your comments and your analysis. It helps us to round out what we're seeing happening tonight. And of course, when we get firmer numbers from the end of the evening, we'll be able to understand all of this much more. And we'll really be looking for your perspective as we go throughout the evening. The former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez conceding in her race against the governor just minutes ago. We'll take a quick break here and come back in just moments for more Southeast Texas Votes.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
What an exciting election night, everyone. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. What a night. Look at the numbers turning out this evening. We have some very exciting and very close races after an early voting period marked by extraordinary turnout. 58,000 voters. We're welcoming our ABC viewers to our coverage this evening as we take a look at some Jefferson County numbers tonight. The county judges race to begin with.
Oh, it is tight. 49% for the challenger, Democrat Nick Lampson, and incumbent Jeff Branick at 51%. And these are still early numbers right now in a very tight race.
Right, even Jeff Branick himself saying just a few minutes ago in a live report he was optimistic, but not overly so. In the 172nd District Court race, the race for the judge's seat vacated in the retirement of Judge Donald Floyd. It is Mitch Templeton with a slight edge on Melody Chappel, 52 to 48%, the numbers tonight.
County Clerk of Jefferson County, Carolyn Guidry, look at that dead heat at 50-50. This is another tight race. Bailey Wingate is her opponent.
That's right.
County Treasurer Charlie Hallmark and Tim Funches, another tight race, both at 50% tonight.
Charlie Hallmark, of course, the son of the former Porter Acres prominent businessman. The constable race, Charlie Wiggins is in the office right now. He has 11,601 votes. Javon Pollard has the edge at the moment with and a lead on him at this point. Brad Bailey, the mayor of Groves, with 49% of the vote, slightly leading Suzanne Williamson, the challenger, in the race to be mayor of Groves.
Let's take a look at the city council races. Now we're going to go to the U.S. Senate race here, and you see now with 12% reporting, at 49 is Beto O'Rourke. Ted Cruz is at 50. We're starting to see more movement in these numbers.
Some of the Tarrant County numbers reportedly coming in just a few minutes ago, somewhat shifting this race. Ted Cruz, the incumbent, who ran for president ignited the ideas and thoughts of whether yet another Texan could become president of the United States. Did really well in the polling in Texas, but ultimately lost a primary to Donald Trump, is narrowly leading Beto O'Rourke at this point, at this juncture. That's with about 12% of the vote having been counted.
Still a lot of numbers to come in tonight, but this is a very close race, and we want to thank you for all our ABC viewers right now.
That's right. We'll be back in just moments with more coverage. Our digital coverage continues through the night. Be sure and continue to watch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Erica Harris. We have some great, exciting election coverage here tonight. Thanks for joining us to all our NBC viewers.
I'm Kevin Steele. Great to have you with us tonight. Look at the numbers of voters. Look at the Democratic process in play. So many close races at this point in the evening. We can tell you that Governor Greg Abbott has retained his post in Austin. The challenger, former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez, falling short. The numbers at this early juncture, 54 to 44%, but Greg Abbott can be projected as the winner based on the math.
And at this hour, Lupe Valdez is giving her concession speech tonight. Once again, Greg Abbott, the winner, Governor of Texas, once again.
We hope to go back to some of the rallies throughout Texas, and the candidates will be having the rallies throughout the night. We'll do some of that.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. Welcome back to our special coverage of Southeast Texas Votes. It's a big, big night of results and analysis on major state and local races.
And we are broadcasting live on all our social media platforms. We're talking about Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. Big races tonight. Let's get right down to the governor's race. Governor Greg Abbott, the winner tonight with 55% of the vote.
The only projected winner that we can tell you about right now, 55-44, the numbers in the early going. That was technically with only 13% of the votes counted in the great state of Texas. However, we can tell you the math is such that Greg Abbott will be the winner in the governor's race,
And
and
many
will continue in
predicted
the
that
mansion.
he would breeze right through this race.
He has made several trips to Southeast Texas, as we've been telling you, and in the minds of many has done well for the state of Texas by way of getting federal money into the state of Texas to help with Harvey recovery. Remember, it was a gargantuan task to take care of all the counties up and down the coast.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that did seal the deal for him, that people felt comfortable with leaving him in as governor of Texas. And as you mentioned, he had come to Southeast Texas numerous times to discuss storm recovery and how to get more monies into this area for the rebuilding process.
Lupe Valdez, the former Dallas County sheriff and the only openly gay nominee to run for governor in the state of Texas. Here is a look at the Greg Abbott watch party tonight.
They're in Austin.
Right in Austin. Theoretically, it will be a happy room, this one, in just a few minutes. We are told in just a few minutes, Governor Greg Abbott will be speaking with his supporters, and we expect comments in concession from former Sheriff Lupe Valdez also. It's been a remarkable night,
extraordinary night. And she had also come to Southeast Texas. She was in Port Arthur not long ago talking about what she would do for storm recovery. As a matter of fact, she felt like the Republicans had not done enough to help this area recover from the storm.
That's right. That's right. Let's take a look at some graphics as we wait for Governor Greg Abbott to begin speaking with us in just a few seconds. This is the Senate race. It's been very tight all night. The numbers have been changing at this point. 2.9 million Texans have said Ted Cruz. 2.8 million Texans have said Beto O'Rourke, the challenger, the El Paso congressman, has the charisma to be the Texas senator.
And the polling, I think, has been all over the place with this race. I mean, we've had Cruz up as much as 9, and then we had some polls tightening within 3 percentage points.
Right.
So this is still a very close race. We are watching those Dallas counties. Tarrant County is a big one right now. I think last I heard that it is still red, but that's the county they're considering the Bellwether County. Now, if that goes to O'Rourke, then a lot of people are wondering, you know, he really possibly could win this one. It could be a big upset tonight.
Could be a major upset. The great state of Texas has not had a statewide office holder who is a Democrat in more than 25 years. It would be remarkable if Beto O'Rourke, from a historical vantage point, political vantage point, if Beto O'Rourke could win tonight. And he has been to all of
every county.
Texas,
and another
254
historic
counties.
thing about this race, this has been the costliest U.S. Senate race in history, in U.S. history. So a lot of money has been poured into this campaign. Beto O'Rourke raked in majority of that with a lot of small votes. Yes.
$80 million
Quite a big
raised
purse
for a political race, and an important political race to be sure. Let's go to the Abbott rally in Austin right now, where the governor has just appeared and will be speaking with his supporters. A happy governor right now. Let's listen in.
Howdy, Texas! I love you too! I want to say thank you to my daughter Audrey for... Come on over here. Come on over here. I want to say thank you to my daughter Audrey for her introduction. She began on the campaign trail with me when she was just 2 years old. And I am now proud to have earned her vote this election that helped me get reelected. And I'm also thankful to my wife of 37 years, the fabulous First Lady of Texas, Cecilia Knapp, who also, as you know, is the first Hispanic First Lady in the history of the state of Texas. But most importantly, I want to say thank you to the people of Texas for re-electing me to be governor of the greatest state in the United States of America. Thank you for your trust. Know this, I will never stop fighting for you and your families as we continue to make Texas the premier state in America. Moments ago, I received a phone call from Sheriff Lupe Valdez, sending on her congratulations about the victory, and I thanked her. But also, I told her what I want to tell all Texans, and that is whether or not you voted for me or against me or didn't vote at all, I'm going to go to work every single day working for everybody in this great state. Now, we all know that this past year has been filled with campaigns that have battled under different banners. It's been the red team versus the blue team. Well, now that elections are over and the people have spoken, it is time for all of us to unite under the best banner of them all, and that is the great flag of the Lone Star State, the Texas flag. Listen, the reality is all Texans share a common vision. We expect Texas to be exceptional, and we will make sure it remains exceptional. It's time for us to work toward that shared vision of a brighter future for Texas and put behind us the differences of the campaigns. As Texans, the bonds that we share transcend our differences. Listen, we all want safer communities. We all want more jobs. We all want better schools. And we all want to give our children lives worthy of their promise. These priorities are bigger than any political party because, first and foremost, we are Texans. Listen, Texas is the land of opportunity. I'm living proof that we live in a state where a young man's life can be broken in half and yet still rise up and be governor of this incredible state. As governor, I will continue to ensure that that very brand of opportunity will remain true for generations to come. Now, I want to thank so many people for their hard work in making tonight possible. I want to thank my brother Gary and his wife Denise. I know Gary is here somewhere. Gary is right over here. Gary Abbott. Gary is a 20-year veteran of the United States Navy. Thank you for your service to our country. He has helped me connect with other veterans across the state and emphasize the importance that we do more to help the men and women who've worn the uniform, because we understand one thing. We would not be participating in this democratic process if it were not for those who fought and died wearing the uniform of the mightiest military in the history of the world. I also want to thank members of my wife's family, many of whom are with us today. If you're a part of my wife's family, mi familia, raise your hand and let's hear it. And as you all know, we need to give our special gratitude to the most famous mother-in-law in Texas. Now, thanks also to the best campaign in the history of Texas politics. And to the best field staff and volunteers I've ever seen in any election in Texas. You were part of the biggest get out the vote effort Texas has ever seen. I want to thank you for the countless hours that you spent, whether it was in the heat of the summer, the cold of winter, all that you did to knock on doors, make phone calls, and to connect with voters and make sure they got out to the polls. Your hard work paid off with tonight's victory, and tonight's victory belongs to you, the grassroots workers for the Abbott campaign this cycle. But most importantly, I want to thank my fellow Texans. During this past year, I've had the opportunity to visit with so many of you in every corner of the entire state of Texas. I've had the opportunity to shake your hand, to give you a hug, to look in your eye and talk about our shared vision for the future of this state. And I want you to know, I'm going to be returning to that Capitol a few blocks from where we are today, working every day for you, making sure we keep Texas the premier state in the greatest country in the history of the world. And then as we do so, may God bless us in our efforts, and may God forever bless the great state of Texas.
Governor Greg Abbott with words about a shared vision of a brighter Texas.
Right. Even for those who did not vote for him, he is including everyone that he wants to make Texas a better place and to continue to keep it strong.
Greg Abbott beats his opponent handily after beating Wendy Davis just 4 years ago by 20 points. He is in charge in the state of Texas in that governor's race. We have an important update tonight.
For the U.S. Senate race, Ted Cruz, he will remain in the U.S. Senate representing Texas. The race has been called tonight.
Both ABC and NBC can project Ted Cruz as the winner over Beto O'Rourke, the El Paso congressman, despite an extraordinary turnout for Beto O'Rourke in some of the more populous counties of Texas. In Dallas County, O'Rourke won the early vote 2-1, and he won Travis County by 195,000 votes. Still tonight,
and those were the counties we were definitely watching, those northern counties, and it's evident that Tarrant County is one of those bigger counties that stay in red tonight, and the amount of money that was poured into this campaign.
An extraordinary amount of money, a hard-fought campaign with O'Rourke going all the way across the state of Texas to every county. CBS now also saying in a projection that Ted Cruz is the victor in that race. So it was a hard-fought race.
Right.
But
let's bring in Tom Tassinger
to
get your perspective on this race.
First of all, I'm surprised it's being called this early, but apparently the networks have some numbers and they see what's comfortable. The polls had Cruz up by about 3-4 points. We'll have to see what the final numbers are. This is a red state. Beto O'Rourke was fighting an uphill battle all the way. No one expected him, frankly, to be this close. He gave it the old college try. I think he's still going to be a force in Texas politics.
Let me ask you this. In 2 years, in 2020, when there isn't straight party voting in the state of Texas, when HB 25 has taken effect, and it won't be easy for Texans to click on a single party, or in this case possibly in the state of Texas, will a candidate like Ted Cruz have an easy a chance to win as now?
Kevin, I think it's going to affect voting. I mean, there are so many voters who just, out of either ease or rather they didn't want to go through the ballot, just check straight voting one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how voting patterns change when that takes effect.
Could
I don't think it's going to be the same.
Landscape, couldn't it? Yeah.
Because a lot of people, there's somebody on the party's ticket, the top person they're going to go for, and then everybody else just falls in line. So that's why a lot of people like the straight party ticket.
Right, and here in Southeast Texas, we don't have that large of a ballot. In Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, you've got a long multi-page ballot that really challenges voters to go through race by race. That's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
And I think we were talking about earlier with Beto O'Rourke that this could probably be just his test run on the national scene.
Yes. I don't think you've heard the last of him. He was a member of the U.S. House from El Paso. Now he's made a strong Senate run. I'll be interested to see the final numbers. I bet he didn't lose by much. I would guess at this point that it's going to be within 3-4 points, something like that.
The inevitable question which must arise at this point by any halfway decent political pundit would be the one of whether Ted Cruz will again run for president in the not too distant future. He said
not 2020. I don't
yes,
think.
Most people say he will. Kevin, that's the rap against him.
Yeah.
That he's not focused enough on Texas politics, that he wants to run for president over and over until he finally wins. So
it became an issue during this campaign.
I don't think a conservative like him would challenge Trump if Trump runs again.
And I
in
still think
2020.
that he owes President Trump one, maybe, for that big rally in Houston.
Yes.
Well,
So,
at least as far as what he is saying, Ted Cruz has said in the past that he would not run until after President Trump had ended.
Right.
Yeah, and theoretically.
And
would
there's
give
always
another
a
candidate
slim
run.
chance that Trump doesn't seek re-election. We'll see what happens If the Democrats take the U.S. House as is expected, we'll see how that shakes out. That could affect the last 2 years of his presidency, make him wonder if he wants to go through this 4 more years.
Right.
We'll see.
There was campaign fodder of it. Beto O'Rourke at one point in the campaign saying, I will be the one who will not be running for president, but rather will be taking care of business in the great state of Texas. This video of Ted Cruz as he campaigned around our state, he was in our area, just in the Beaumont, Port Arthur area, that is to say, in just the last month. And then, of course, went from Lion Ted to a very glamorous figure in the eyes of Donald J. Trump.
Beautiful Ted, right? Was it beautiful?
Yeah, beautiful Ted, who campaigned for him vigorously in Houston at the Toyota Center recently. You have to wonder if it was helpful. We don't have the Harris County numbers in just yet, but.
Well, again, a lot of Republicans nationwide have made up with Donald Trump, figuring for better or for worse, he is extremely popular in the Republican Party. He can drive out votes, or drive out votes in favor of the candidate. So, yeah, going forward, it'll be interesting to see if they remain that close to each other politically when some tough battles come up in these next 2 years.
Oh, yes.
And this was a very big win tonight for the Republicans, because I think a lot of people were a little bit nervous that Beto O'Rourke would kind of squeak in there and get this one, edge this one out.
Oh, absolutely. He was within the margin of error in the polls, and he's probably not going to lose by much. An upset was not out of the question. Apparently, it's not going to happen tonight, but an impressive run by Beto, no question about it.
Thank goodness we don't have hanging chads in Texas. Because, it could be ugly
we
then.
could be counting for a long time.
Yeah, we could be counting for a long time in Texas. Thank you so much, Tom. We appreciate it. Great perspective. We will be, of course, on throughout the evening with analysis and with results on our digital side on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and on YouTube. And we have much more to come tonight. We've only really seen
We just scratched
2
the
races.
surface. Yeah.
That's it.
Because we were still getting so many early numbers to come in. So we have 2 that have been called so far, and that's the Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He wins. And, of course, this race with Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke. Cruz actually prevails in this one.
It'd be great to see the gubernatorial case once again, as we see that Greg Abbott has, in fact, been projected to be the winner in Texas. Lupe Valdez gave it a good shot, was in Southeast Texas at various points, as Erica pointed out.
And speaking of the U.S. Senate race, it would be good to see some of those breakdowns by county, because we know that we were watching the big,
yes,
populated counties like Harris, Tarrant counties, and then we knew that a lot of those rural counties would break for Senator Ted Cruz.
It would be interesting
to dig deep into those numbers and see what those votes are.
The specifics, Jefferson County. How did Jefferson County, how did Hardin County and Orange County, how did they break when it came to this notion of whether U.S. Senator Ted Cruz should be returned to office?
And I think people were nervous too with the amount of money that Beto O'Rourke was able to amass with a lot of small donors.
$80 million raised by a congressman, virtually unheard of. When you have a sort of a presidential candidate, you have somebody for a Senate race, I guess you might consider more of that. But oftentimes a congressman would not be able to raise that kind of money, perhaps indicative of the charisma of the El Paso congressman, just in raising that kind of money and making this race remarkably close.
Right. Let's take a look at our races closer to home. I mean, we're watching this one, a very big race tonight. 97%. Now, see, those numbers are starting to come in. And we have Nick Lampson, former Congressman Nick Lampson, with 49%, and incumbent Jeff Branick at 51%. Very, very close race.
Okay, and in just a few minutes, I should say, by way of advance notice, we will be going to the Branick headquarters.
In just a moment, but let's bring Tom back to kind of discuss this race and get his perspective on it. It's such a close race.
97% of the vote now counted, so we are getting a pretty good picture now.
Right, and it looks, if those are the most accurate numbers we have, it looks as if Branick would hang on to win. Again, a close race. Lampson, the strongest possible Democratic candidate the party could have put up, a former congressman, vast connections, ability to raise money. If any Democrat could have won this race, it would have been Nick Lampson, and apparently he's going to fall just short.
Yeah, a traditionally Democratic county appears to be going more Republican.
It does, and as I mentioned earlier, you don't know how many votes left Jefferson County from Tropical Storm Harvey. There were earlier estimates that 4,000 to 5,000 people left the county, mostly from South County, presumably Democratic voters. If those people had been here, would they have been enough to put Nick Lampson over the top? We may never know.
We're going to a live report with Jeff Branick in just a few minutes. First, we'll take a brief pause and let you know that you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube throughout the night, but we'll pause for now.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, everyone. All our ABC viewers, thank you for joining us for our special election night coverage here on 12 News. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. Hello again and welcome back to Southeast Texas Votes. A big night. We have two projections. Governor Greg Abbott is projected to win tonight along with U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. But we have some extraordinary races locally, Jefferson County judge to be precise. In that race, we can tell you now with 97% of the votes counted that we have a 51-49 lead by Jeff Branick, the incumbent, to retain office.
Let's check in with Jackie Massey, who is with Jeff Branick right now. And Jackie, give us more.
Kevin and Erica, like you guys said, Jeff Branick is ahead in the polls right now, and you're feeling pretty good about that right now?
I feel great about it. It's wonderful to have had the support that I've had, given our county's history, to have the opportunity to be close to being the first Republican county judge elected in Jefferson County, and I'm hoping that those trends stay true. And I feel much more comfortable whenever the ballot is canvassed on the 20th, I believe, of November. But
yeah, really we're just still waiting on those final election results. And but we did just find out that Greg Abbott won as well as Cruz. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that. You've worked very closely with them during Harvey. What does that mean to you to know that Cruz and Abbott will stay in office?
Governor Abbott's been a close ally, a friend of Southeast Texas. He's worked with me to get over $1.5 billion in hurricane relief aid into Jefferson County alone. He's worked hard to get our message to Washington that we need to get our long-term housing programs done more quickly, that we need to plan for those in advance at the federal level. And, I just can't say enough good about what he's done to lead this state. He's turned our state into the 10th largest economy in the United States. Since he took office, Texas has become a job creation machine. Our economy is bigger than Canada's, bigger than South Korea's, bigger than Russia's. So, I can't say enough about the job he's done. Who can compare? What state could come close to that?
Thank you so much, and we will continue to keep you guys updated on the election results. Like I said, Branick currently is in the lead with 51-49 with Lampson. So we'll keep you updated online and on air. Reporting live in Beaumont, Jackie Massey, 12 News.
Everything's finally starting to roll in. We're starting to see some movement on those numbers and the votes that are being counted.
Big numbers in tonight. Jeff Branick with a lead at this point, a narrow race, but he has the lead at this hour on Nick Lampson in the race for Jefferson County Judge. We should mention you can catch all of our analysis and the results on our digital landscape tonight, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube, and of course on 12 News Now, our website. Big coverage to come tonight.
We are your election headquarters. Stay with us. And boy, what a big night. The numbers are starting to come in. We're starting to see some races that have been called. The big governor's race, as expected, Governor Greg Abbott wins his race. And the U.S. Senate race has been called tonight.
Senate race, although close in some of the more populous counties in Tarrant County and Dallas County, where Beto O'Rourke turned out and beat the incumbent 2-1 in those counties, still lost on the statewide landscape. Ted Cruz will remain U.S. Senator from Texas.
Oh, an extremely close race. He really gave Senator Cruz a run for his money in this one, but Cruz did prevail after all those north counties start coming in and rural counties. I think that really sealed the deal for Senator Cruz.
The irony, Beto O'Rourke made it to all 254 counties. I've lived in Lubbock. I've lived in Lubbock County. I can tell you how hard it is to get to Lubbock County if you're not trying to go to Lubbock County. So it's extraordinary. He made it to every county in this very large, in terms of land mass state, and got to voters everywhere. It probably played into the millions he was able to raise, and certainly played into what seems to be a sizable popularity, at least in terms of a Democrat in a very red state.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting to see those final numbers come in, to see exactly where the numbers stood in the different counties. But once again, Senator Ted Cruz, he wins re-election tonight. And here's a live look at his campaign headquarters there in Houston.
We'll say goodbye to our ABC viewers. Let's listen in.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica Harris. Thank you so much for staying with us on our digital coverage of 12 News Votes. And a lot of you are chiming in on social media tonight. Let's check in with Dejanique Garrison. She is in our social center. Dejanique, what's going on over there?
Hey, Erica, lots and lots to talk about right now. Joining me, 12 News digital guru, Mackenzie Hinkle. So, guys, we've been scrolling through Twitter because just a couple of minutes ago, we got word that both ABC and NBC
And CBS
making a huge projection in a race that not only folks in Texas have been watching, but folks all across
over
the nation have been watching. Cruz versus O'Rourke, and they're projecting Cruz as the winner.
This was one of those races that celebrities got involved. Taylor Swift, people that aren't even here.
Beyonce, she's from Houston. On Instagram, she had on her snapback and it said Beto across the top. Her Destiny's Child band member along with her best friend Kelly Rowland also taking pictures with O'Rourke. But Cruz, he wasn't too shabby when it came to the star power either. President Trump hosting a huge rally in Houston. So right now, top trends across the U.S., of course, election night. We're also seeing Beto as a top trend, Ted Cruz, Senate and House. So folks are really talking about those. We're going to comb those tweets in just a bit, but we're going to head on over to our magical tag board because I want to show you guys what our crews are working on. Our 12 News reporters, they have been in the field all day. Right now, they're at several different camps all across the area, and we're going to take a look at what they are saying. Tyler, Republicans excited after hearing Ted Cruz has won re-election in the Texas Senate race. Hashtag 12 News Now. Hashtag SETX votes. We need you guys to use that hashtag and let us know how you feel about this hotly contested Senate race.
Tyler's at the Templeton rally as well.
All right, Lauren, she's down there at Sugars. I wonder if she's eating something real good.
Right.
Their food is amazing.
Bring it to us.
She says all eyes are on the big screen waiting for the election results. Governor Greg Abbott just gave his victory speech. We showed you guys that just a couple of minutes ago. And as you can see, Sugars is really filling up. The 172nd District Court seats is happening here. Melody Chappel, she's camped out at Sugars. All right, who else? Paris Kane, take it away, Mackenzie.
County Judge candidate Jeff Branick patiently awaits the final results. He leads candidate Nick Lampson 51% to 49%. A little over 1,000 votes. And, you know, these are still really early predictions. We don't have all the precincts in right now, but he's doesn't look nervous.
Doesn't look nervous. Cool as a cucumber on the outside. I guess that's the way to be. So I know a lot of you guys are wondering, hey, if all the votes haven't been counted, how are they already making these projections and the winners? We want to take you to our 12 News Now election page. If we call up this page, it's 12newsnow.com/elections. We're going to show you how easy it is to navigate this page. All right, so here is the great state of Texas. All you have to do is hover over any of the counties, and as you can see, it pops up showing you what's happening. So Mackenzie, you want to tell them what they're looking at on this side of the screen?
See, this one's Wharton County. You can see that Ted Cruz led Wharton County. If we scroll over here to Jefferson County, you can see it's red. So Ted Cruz led Jefferson County. Still not 100% in precincts, but we're getting all the rest of those in right now.
Okay, so let's take a look at a few of the other counties around Southeast Texas if we can stay in that area, Erica, so that we can take a look. Okay, is this being a little temperamental here? All right, guys, you know how technology works. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate, but this just gives you a look at how this system works. So user-friendly. Love the fact that you can see how you and your neighbors are voting, how those numbers are coming in. So even though we do have a projected winner, you can see here 10% of precincts reported across Texas. So just stick with this particular page throughout the night so that you can see at the end how the numbers ended up stacking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so guys, lots and lots happening all across social media. Again, we want you to continue to use that hashtag SETX votes. That is how we can keep up with what you guys are doing all across the area, where you're watching the parties, who you're rooting for, and then the reactions once the results come in.
We want to see it all, everything.
Absolutely. So, Mackenzie, talking about close races, now that we know Cruz is the projected winner across Southeast Texas, looking at these numbers, are you kind of shocked or are you like, I think this is happening?
You know, Beto did such a great campaign, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm really surprised just kind of looking at Texas and how Texans are.
The most expensive race in U.S. history. So, guys, we're going to send it back over to Kevin and Erica. See what they're chatting about.
Oh, thank you so
Dejanique,
much,
thanks.
Mackenzie and Dejanique.
We
And that's
appreciate it.
exactly what we've been wanting to see, the county by county breakdown in that particular race. So
Very
go to that.
interesting.
That's a very good interactive map.
You saw how big Harris County went for Beto O'Rourke.
Yes.
Not the case in a lot of the state. Ted Cruz has been projected the victory in Jefferson County alone. Just take a look at the breakdown. In our county here in Jefferson County, it was a very, very close race. Less than 400 votes separating Ted
Right,
Cruz
50-50.
and Beto O'Rourke.
That is something to really watch. And then Orange County broke for Ted Cruz overwhelmingly with 79% to
Which you-
O'Rourke's 20%.
Which you would expect in Orange County, predominantly a GOP county.
Let's take a look at Hardin County.
Hardin County, also predominantly a GOP county.
There's
we don't have the
nothing-
numbers from
numbers
there.
for that one, but
I think
we can only
almost,
assume.
yeah, we can guess how that probably has gone in Hardin County. Again, predominantly a county that supports conservatives and conservative candidates
But
throughout.
he did. He ran a tough race, and he prevailed in this one. So we'll see what's the next move for Beto O'Rourke.
Ted
a lot
Cruz.
of people said this is not the last that we'll see of him.
No.
So time will tell, but congratulations goes to the winner, Ted Cruz, tonight.
And Ted Cruz expected to enter a U.S. Senate, projected by ABC and NBC as being a Republican-dominated body. It appears that with projections from ABC and NBC that the Senate will remain in the control of the Republican Party. Both networks have now projected that the Democrats will have now taken control of the United States House of Representatives.
And this was also predicted that would happen. I mean, for the Senate, I mean, it's a tough landscape for Democrats to take control over the Senate, but it was predicted that they would make a lot of movement in the House.
A 23-vote margin, a 23-member margin in the House, and at this point it looks as though the Democrats have taken control. Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, maybe in a battle to go back to be House Speaker
and
once
it
again.
appears that she still has a lot of support from those in the House that she should go back to that role.
There's some of the younger guard believing that Steny Hoyer or one of the younger guard would be a better speaker. We'll see how that lays out. But at this point, anyway, in the evening, it looks as though the United States House of Representatives will be in the hands of the Democrats. Ted Cruz, at this point, is just happy to be a victor. We will be hearing from him in just a few moments.
He's in Houston, so I would love to hear what his concession speech will be like. Will he try to just be congratulatory with and thankful from his supporters, or will he lay out any type of policy, what we can expect in the future for him? So that's going to be interesting to really hear his victory speech tonight.
We're going to wait for just a little bit longer to see about Ted Cruz. But Lauren Hensley is with Melody Chappel tonight, and it would be wonderful to listen into Lauren speaking with the candidate in the 172nd District Court Judge race. Lauren?
Kevin and Erica, yeah, that's a really tight race for that 172nd judge's position. So very tight numbers coming in. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling excited. I mean, it's been a wonderful journey. It's it's shown me great things about Jefferson County. I've met many great people in Jefferson County, and it's just been a joy to run.
And describe the energy here.
Oh, the energy is upbeat. Everyone's having fun. A lot of people have gone downstairs, but it was crowded to capacity here today, so that's a great thing.
And you had a very early day. I know I'm getting a little tired, so I can imagine being in your position. Walk me through how you spent the day, election day today.
I spent most of the day going to poll, greeting my volunteers, feeding my volunteers, just encouraging them and thanking them for being out there for me for over a year.
And I know the numbers are showing a little bit of a lead for Mitch Templeton. How do you think the rest of the evening will go?
Well, my evening is going to go wonderful, no matter what. And I'm here with lots of friends and lots of supporters, and it's been a great year.
Melody, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're going to send it back to you guys in the studio, reporting live from Beaumont. Lauren Hensley, 12 News.
Welcome back to Southeast Texas Votes. We're working all around the kaleidoscope here tonight as we bring you results and analysis from some extraordinary races this evening.
And we're getting some numbers to come in, and some races have been called tonight.
Ted Cruz with about 3.3 million votes statewide at this point to 3 million votes on behalf of Beto O'Rourke, the El Paso congressman who maybe surprised the world with a very strong showing in a Senate race in a state which some political observers would say he had little hope of winning.
But he was very confident. The last time he spoke with the media, he said that he's confident that he would win this race.
He has run a good race and raised a lot of money in his race and was very visible on television throughout the Texas markets in vying for his candidacy. At this point, it has been projected by the networks that Ted Cruz is the victor, and the Senate will be in the hands of the Republicans tonight, it appears. But what an extraordinary race by Beto O'Rourke.
And exactly, we've been looking at some of the county breakdowns with this particular race, and we were closely watching those northern counties, especially Tarrant County. A lot of people consider that to be the bellwether county. It has traditionally gone red, and it stayed red tonight. And as I mentioned, Ted Cruz, he was very confident that he will pull this one out, and he's absolutely correct. But a tight race.
In Groves, a controversial recall petition led to a recall election. Cross Coburn, the city council member there, was recalled, and the citizens of Groves were able to step forward and vote on this notion of whether Cross Coburn should be ousted from office. At this point tonight, it appears that 63% of the voters have said that Cross Coburn should go.
But due to a judge's ruling, will this even hold up?
That is the question tonight, isn't it, after all? Because a motion has been granted, a motion to reconsider whether the petition was legally arrived at, whether signatures on that petition were in fact forged. There is at least one example of a birth date given as 1900, which seems thoroughly implausible on this recall petition. So we'll have to see how it turns out tonight. But this has indeed been a controversial recall election. And the mayor, Brad Bailey, has been in question as to whether he would retain his seat. He's doing well so far in the
Right,
numbers
and there was
tonight.
this big article recently with the Texas Monthly, that
magazine
brought this out about this controversial recall election.
Here's that race for mayor, and Brad Bailey has 48% of the vote at this hour. Forgive me, folks, the race has been called. In fact, Brad Bailey, the incumbent mayor of Groves, will retain his post with a 48-46 victory over Suzanne Williamson.
And let's take a look at the councilman race there. Do we have those numbers? There are some incumbents that are on the ballot.
That's right. This
and
also
Ward 2.
a final?
And yeah, look at this. 66%, the incumbent, seems like she will keep rolling on in her seat.
Okay, Karen Tice with a victory there, and Kyle Hollier also winning 60% of the vote in the Ward 4 race, the incumbents winning in Groves, which typically has not had a lot of turnover in terms of its city council leadership.
Exactly, and once again, I mean, a lot of tight races tonight. And so the numbers are coming in, and I think we're just getting word that there is a winner that's been declared in the Jefferson County race.
12 News
Branick
can project that Jeff
That's right.
Branick has won a victory in his race for Jefferson County judge and will retain the post. Here is a county judge which said earlier in the evening he would very much rather run unopposed. It's been a serious battle by Nick Lampson, the 10-year congressman, in his effort to oust a judge that his supporters said had really done a good job in the context of all of the challenges that Jefferson County had faced.
And once again, a very tight race, but Jeff Branick will prevail over Nick Lampson in this race. And I think that a lot of people really kept that in mind when they thought about how much that the county, this area had gone through with Tropical Storm Harvey, and there's still a lot of work to be done on that end.
Let's turn it over to Tom Tashinger, a stalwart when it comes to politics in Southeast Texas with the Beaumont Enterprise. Your views and observations as we see this victory on the part of Jeff Branick tonight.
A good win for Jeff Branick. This was a tough race. This was not a sure thing by any means. He had a strong challenger. He knew it. He ran hard. He appears to have prevailed by about 2 percentage points. He ran tough. He knew what he had to do, and he apparently went out and did it.
Yep. He was very. It was a very hard-fought race. His opponent said Jeff Branick had failed in the sense that he was less than trustworthy in that he had switched parties. He said that Jeff Branick had not brought enough help into Jefferson County with regard to relief after Harvey, and yet it appears that the electorate in Jefferson County
They
has
did
said,
not believe that
right,
to be true.
They didn't buy the case.
Right. Harvey was a tough issue for almost any community that was affected by it. No one is satisfied with the recovery. If you're still out of your home, you're not happy, and you're going to be looking to your local officials, fairly or unfairly, and saying they should have done more, and we're seeing that in Jefferson County.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We remember how many people were upset, and rightly so. There were problems. Rightly upset with FEMA for not bringing money in fast enough. There were housing questions. There were extraordinary hardships faced by Jefferson County folks. We personally, as journalists, feel badly for them and continue to cover their story avidly. And yet there's from a governmental standpoint, only so much that can be done, and $1.5 billion in relief is nothing to sneeze at.
Right, but he has a lot on his plate still. There's still so much work to be done. There's still so many people in Jefferson County that are still trying to get back into their homes after Harvey. So, I mean, this is a great victory, but he still has a lot of work.
They do, and the local officials like Jeff Branick say, look, we're dealing with the state and the federal government.
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of that totem pole. We don't always have the clout we wish we had. It's a tough battle for them. They've got to be persistent and just stay on it. And we'll see how that shakes out in 2019.
Well, apparently, switching parties worked out for him tonight.
Yes.
I guess you could argue that the switching parties did not hurt him, that maybe the Jefferson County voter is willing, apart from partisan politics, to support the guy, the girl that they think is doing a good job.
Yeah, this county is about 50-50, Republican and Democrat. I don't think either party has a clear advantage. Yes, in this case, Jeff Branick was not hurt at all by his switch. He picked up some Republican votes. He picked up apparently enough Republican votes to win.
And I think, once again, we look at that U.S. Senate race, and if you did vote straight party, and if you really were into that Senate race, I mean, everybody that's under Ted Cruz, I mean, you're on that ticket, so It actually could have helped, now that we're seeing that Ted Cruz prevailed in his race as well.
Absolutely. Republicans did a little bit better in this race than some people thought they might. Cruz won rather handily. Abbott cruised. Pardon the play on words.
Yeah.
And some of that I think you would have to say filtered down to local races like Jeff Branick. Absolutely.
And the numbers that were coming in with early voting, you just can't deny that. And so maybe we're starting to see how those early voters actually are starting to sway.
Early voting is becoming more and more popular every election. 2 full weeks in Texas. One of the best systems in the country, by the way. I bet a lot of other states wish they had our system. It just gets the maximum turnout. If you didn't vote in this election, you weren't trying, I'll say that.
You didn't try. You never tried to get a vote in. 13 states don't even have early voting.
That's almost inconceivable, where here, early voting, the majority of votes are cast in the early session. Election day, as I said, is kind of an afterthought. You're getting 20 or 25% of the final turnout coming in on those days.
It's very encouraging from the outsider's vantage point to see so many people
participating
coming out to the polls.
in the process.
Win or lose, there's just so much passion about this notion of leadership. It's encouraging to see.
Right, yeah. They've got to make it easy for people to vote. You can't make them vote, but you just cannot have any roadblocks or barriers in the way for them to do it.
That's right. That's right. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Jeff Branick with a victory tonight. Ted Cruz with a victory. The last we saw, about 3.3 million Texas votes tonight over his challenger, Beto O'Rourke.
And so many people are excited about this win tonight because they were, thinking this would be definitely a tough one. Probably had a lot of people nervous because of the amount of money that was poured into the Beto O'Rourke campaign.
We can also tell you that Governor Greg Abbott will retain his post in the governor's mansion in Austin with a victory over, it must be getting late, in Austin with a victory over his competitor. Let's take a live look at the Ted Cruz campaign tonight. Cruz will be speaking, we're told, in just a few minutes. This is in Houston tonight.
Exactly, and the people, a lot of people are gathered there tonight waiting to hear Senator Cruz and what he has to say about a very tough race. And I'm also interested to hear if what type of speech he will roll out tonight, because I think along the way he has really talked about sticking to the policies that got him elected in the first place.
Some had pretty much written off the political prospects of Ted Cruz more than a year ago, when it appeared that his opposition, his primary battle with Donald J. Trump, had just gotten a little too personal. The candidates in the primary had fought viciously, right down to personal attacks. Trump attacking the wife at one point of Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz valiantly
that's all
responding.
wind in the past now, because they
That's all
definitely
history.
made up and were big friends for the big rally that was in Houston. I think that actually gave Ted Cruz a really big boost.
Some conservatives, however,
Just the
had
momentum.
said,
Sometimes all you need is that extra momentum.
it was, for some folks, this notion of whether he would follow the protocols and endorse the nominee, Donald Trump, at the Republican National Convention, and when he refused to give a firm endorsement. He spoke well of Trump, but refused to give a full endorsement at the Republican National Convention. And some conservatives at that point said Ted Cruz is history. Well, we can tell tonight he is not history.
Oh,
where there was a
well,
throng
no
of
endorsement
happy
back then,
supporters.
but I can almost guarantee President Trump will get an endorsement from Senator Ted Cruz in 2020.
Ted Cruz will be speaking with this crowd in just a few minutes. We're told he's on his way, and that there will be almost certainly a happy election night speech by Ted Cruz in just moments. Ironic to think about Ted Cruz when we look at his challenger tonight, Beto O'Rourke, having visited all 254 Texas counties. Ted Cruz did much the same thing, getting in a pickup truck, driving across the state of Texas. He was the former Inspector General, I believe. Tom will be able to help me out in Texas. He was the
Solicitor General.
He was the Solicitor General of Texas. Thank you very much. And had not. He just didn't have the name recognition in the state of Texas that you might expect for a Senate candidate, and yet in sort of that grassroots, blue collar.
It was very organic.
Yeah, get down in the dirt and go campaign way. He got to a lot of the state of Texas and became widely known and won that Senate race despite the odds. Ironic that Beto O'Rourke did much the same thing in
And
terms
let's
of
not
retail
forget,
politics.
Ted Cruz is a fiery debater.
That's right. He is said to be one of the best of
Exactly.
the debaters. And I can tell you in the primary season, it was never not entertaining to hear Donald Trump and Ted Cruz go at it on stage.
Yeah, but now I think they are come together. They may be blood brothers by now, because once again, I think that had it not been for the president to really get behind him and give him that final push, I think it was like his seal of approval, really to rally those voters to get out there and vote. I think that really helped to build that enthusiasm, because O'Rourke definitely nipping at his heels.
That's
so
right.
he has to send the president a big thank you note.
Well, the polls, the University of Texas Tribune poll late in this campaign season said that Ted Cruz had the lead, but only by 6 percentage points.
And here we're looking at races closer to home. This is the 172nd District Judges race, and the numbers right here, we're at 97% reporting, and Mitch Templeton in the lead right now with 51% of the vote against Democratic opponent Melanie Chappel. And once again, this county judges race for Jefferson County has been called. Jeff Branick will remain in his seat.
wrap our early coverage in just seconds here as we go through the analysis tonight. We have several panels worth of experts about politics in our region that we'll be talking to further. But for now, we will wrap it up.
And keep following us on those social media platforms. We'll be back in just a minute.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. I'm Erica Harris.
I'm Kevin Steele. Welcome to Southeast Texas Votes. It has been a remarkable night tonight. We have seen extraordinary turnout, and we are just now beginning to get a clearer picture of the political landscape with Jeff Branick getting the win in Jefferson County.
I know a lot of numbers are coming in. Races are being called tonight, and you've been following us all evening on 12 News Now, on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope, and YouTube. And once again, for the Jefferson County judges race, Jeff Branick is declared the winner. He will remain in his seat.
It has been a hard-fought battle with Nick Lampson, the 10-year congressman, the former tax assessor collector of Jefferson County, and a school teacher in our area. Our Jackie Massey is live tonight with the Branick campaign, and it must be a very happy room where Jeff Branick is tonight. Jackie?
To 49, how are you feeling right now? You must be feeling elated right now.
I'm feeling wonderful. I'm so happy that I'm going to have another 4 years to serve the citizens of Jefferson County. It's been the honor of my life, and I'm excited about the prospect for completing a lot of projects that we had underway, and I'm just also looking forward to a little bit of rest.
Yeah, I can imagine, and you were very touched when you were speaking up there at the podium in front of everybody. Just a very touching moment for you. Were you concerned at all at any point about this race?
Well, you never know what's going to happen. I can't. Jefferson County has a history of being a Democratic county, and I'm thankful for many on the Democratic side who went and pressed my button. They did, as Pastor Adolph said, look at the person instead of the party.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. Reporting live in Beaumont, Jackie Massey, 12 News.
Jackie, all
yes,
right.
Thank
Thanks
you very much, Jackie. And the big night continues for the Republicans tonight. Senator Ted Cruz, he will remain Senator of Texas in the U.S. Senate.
He was challenged by Beto O'Rourke. Let's listen in.
Tonight, is a victory for the people of Texas. Tonight is a victory for all the men and women in this room and all the men and women across this state that poured your hearts, your passion, your time, your energy to rising to defend Texas. To every one of you, Heidi and I and the girls, we say thank you. Thank you. Texas saw something this year that we've never seen before. This election wasn't about me, and it wasn't about Beto O'Rourke. This election was a battle of ideas. It was a contest for who we are and what we believe. It was a contest, and the people of Texas decided this race. We traveled every part of the state, from East Texas to West Texas, from the Panhandle to the Valley. And the energy, the excitement we saw was incredible. Just a couple of weeks ago down in the Valley, in Harlingen, 2,000 people coming out. In Mission, 2,000 people coming out. In El Paso, 2,000 people coming out. And what was truly amazing, at many of these events, we would ask, how many of you here are former Democrats? And we would see hands throughout the room, as we're seeing hands now, because Texas came together behind a common sense agenda of low taxes, low regulations, and lots of jobs. Securing the border and keeping our communities safe, and defending the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And that is a common sense agenda that unites Texans from every part of the state. It was your hard work. This is a victory for the single mom who's been waiting tables, who suddenly sees her wages going up because the economy is booming. This is a victory for the oil field worker who sees now that the United States is the world's top producer of oil. This is a victory for all the kids who are seeing their parents. In the last 2 years, 4 million people have come off of food stamps. Stop and reflect for a moment the lives transformed. People who had been dependent on government for basic food needs now have jobs and get to come home carrying a bag of groceries. Get to come home and look at their kids and say, I'm providing for my family, and their kids get to look up at mom, look up at dad, and see the hope. This was an election about hope and about the future, and the people of Texas rendered a verdict that we want a future with more jobs and more security and more freedom. I want to take a moment also to thank my wife, Heidi, who is my best friend in the world and who, in the course of this campaign, shouldered responsibilities at work, at home, juggling 1,000 balls backwards on a unicycle. And I want to thank our girls. I want to thank Caroline and Catherine. It is hard. Having dad on the road all the time, having mom on the road all the time, it is hard, and these girls pay a price. And girls, Mommy and I love you with all of our hearts. And I could not possibly be prouder of the two of you. I also want to thank my mom and my dad, both of whom poured their hearts into this.
Senator Ted Cruz and his victory speech, and he talked about jobs and that more people are back to work and less people are on food stamps.
People that, in fact, rose to defend Texas in his words and said it was a victory for the people of Texas. His victory tonight over Beto O'Rourke. We've had a lot of exciting races tonight. The race for the judge's post in the 172nd, also a very exciting race tonight. Mitch Templeton has won that race. He, of the Board of Managers of BISD, the super lawyer of 2015, the man who said he valued integrity in office above all else and wanted to become the judge as a result of his fight for 27 years in the legal field.
Defeating Democrat Melody Chappel tonight, our former BISD attorney, fought a hard race, had a great ground game, but apparently, once again, we talk about these voters turning out to vote early, and we're starting to see exactly where the votes are swaying tonight.
And the vote, frankly, for Republicans in many cases here. Mitch Templeton, the second major Republican race. So we have something of a shift in Jefferson County, historically known as a Democratic county, with a victory for Mitch Templeton tonight. 12 News reporter William Blanchette.
And let's take a look here at the Jefferson County judges race. Jeff Branick, the incumbent, will maintain his seat, and we're now going to hear from his opponent tonight, Nick Lampson, who fought a very tough race.
Here we go. Not what Democrats were looking for tonight. Nick Lampson, unfortunately, not coming out on top. How are you feeling right now?
Well, it's still a little bit confused because I haven't seen any numbers from anything other than the early vote. I know what's been called, but I would like to at least see what the results were and where votes came from. You know, these things always have a winner and they always have a loser. I don't have a problem with losing a race. It's always about people. It's about the people that we attempted to try to serve, people who are still out of their homes 16 months after Hurricane Harvey. It's about the people who gave so much of themselves in their attempt to help make this happen. I'm never disappointed in trying to serve my community. So I will wait and at least take a look. I think we all need to see what actually occurred. I'd like to pick it apart a little bit, try to understand what we did. We were in every neighborhood. We were in most people's houses across the county. I'm very proud of the effort that we made. I'm very proud that we took a high road through the whole course of this campaign. I will always try to achieve that. And more than anything, I am proud of the many people who gave so much of themselves in trying to make a change for Jefferson County. You know, we're still the county that went from the 9th largest to the 20th largest. We're still the county whose population hasn't changed in 50 years. We're still the county that is losing a great deal of our future in having our children go off to other communities to find opportunity. Those things have to change, and I hope that we will be visionary enough to implement programs to bring that together for us.
Nick, thank you so much for your time. We're going to send it back to you guys in the studio. Reporting live, Lauren Hensley, 12 News.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and we'll be right back with more election coverage.
Here are some local races.
Thanks for staying with us for our 12 News Southeast Texas votes tonight.
We appreciate you being with us. We have some extraordinary races tonight. Melody Chappel, the former BISD attorney, fighting to be the 172nd District Court judge to replace Donald Floyd. She fell slightly short tonight. Mitch Templeton, the Republican, with an extraordinary victory tonight into office and to take the robes. Our William Blanchette has been covering Mitch Templeton this evening. We go live to William and Mitch Templeton in Port Neches tonight. William?
Yeah, guys, we're out here at the Republican headquarters. A lot of people happy for Mitch Templeton, the new 176 court judge. A lot of people out here happy for you. What's going through your head right now?
Well, I'm very humbled. It's an important job, and I understand the gravity of the job. People will come into our court to settle civil disputes, and of course, if I have my way, we're going to be doing some other things besides handling civil matters, but that's down the line, and I'll have to get other people to go along with me, but I'm very humbled. I understand the gravity of the job. I understand the significance of the footsteps of Judge Floyd that I'm following in, and I will always respect that and always pay homage to that with my effort and my service.
Yeah, and your family was really involved in this as well. I talked to your wife earlier, but your mother as well, was she involved?
Oh, absolutely. She birthed me.
Yes.
This is my mother, Linda Templeton, and she raised me in Jasper, Texas, and she came in for it. She had a big operation this year, and we're just glad that she's here with us and able to walk.
And Branick won too. So
Good.
This is, not just the victory here, but, for Republicans, right?
It is. It's a significant victory for Republicans in the county. Jeff Branick is, I didn't even really know him that well before the race, and I got to know him being on the campaign trail with him for about a year. He's an outstanding county judge. I can't imagine a better CEO for the county, and I've come to really admire him. And the people of Jefferson County made the right decision when they chose Jeff Branick.
Yeah. Anything else you like to add about today?
Well, just thank you so much for my wife especially, and my law partner Dean Brinkley, and all the supporters that have helped me so much this past year. It's just been a tremendous group and team effort, and I'm humbled, and I'm full of joy.
Well, thank you, sir. Congratulations to you. He plans on taking office early January. We don't know the exact date, but it's fair to say these guys are very happy. He's been through a lot. We'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, William. And what a great night for Mitch Templeton.
Yeah, I know Janelle Templeton is happy to have it all over with. It's been a tremendous amount of work for the whole family.
We have much more coverage coming back.
That's right. After the break, Beaumont Enterprise editorial page editor Tom Tashiger, and more after this.
Exciting tonight. That's one word to describe what's been happening with these returns, and races have been called. And so, Kevin.
It's a very good word to use, actually. Yes, yes. A big, big night. The turnout, remarkable all across not only Jefferson County, but southeast Texas.
But apparently the so-called blue wave or blue tsunami, well, it did not make it here.
I don't see
Southeast
any waves
Texas tonight.
really in either
few,
direction tonight.
But for the bigger races, you know, with the judges' races, the Jefferson County judges' races, the 172nd went to Republicans tonight.
Emerging in the as a theme maybe tonight, just this notion that you, the voter, got out in a big, big way. We have Republicans winning important races. We have Democrats winning important races, including the U.S. House. Joining us to talk further about it, the editorial page editor of the Beaumont Enterprise, Tom Tashinger. The biggest surprises of the night, what jumps out at you?
I thought Beto would be closer. Looked like about a 3 or 4 point spread. That was a bit of a surprise, but still, that's a very good finish for him. Jefferson County has some interesting numbers where you have a couple of close victories for the Democrats and a couple of close victories for the Republicans. It looks like Carolyn Guidry and Charlie Hallmark will win their races for county clerk and county treasurer if those numbers hold up. And then both Branick and Mitch Templeton won by about that 51% to 49% margin.
Yeah.
So a very split county. Each party can take away a couple of wins and rue a couple of losses.
I mean, it's almost a post-partisan era for Jefferson County, it would seem, that the best candidate will win the race.
Yes. This is the toss-up county, Kevin, Erica. No one can take this for granted.
And it's still who can get their people to the polls,
Right.
voter turnout.
Right, right.
Yeah. It's been a big, big night in that context. The turnout of 58,000 voters in advance of the actual election day, that's a third of the electorate in Jefferson County.
Very big numbers there.
Yes, yes. And again, we have to wonder how many voters were driven out of Jefferson County by Tropical Storm Harvey. There were estimates of 4,000 to 5,000 voters from South County, presumably Democratic voters. If they had been here, would these races have turned out differently for a couple of Republicans?
Interesting. Yeah. Wow, how about that? Mitch Templeton continues, as we've been talking about throughout the evening. Mitch Templeton will take office as the 172nd District Court Judge. Jeff Branick retains his post as county judge, and we have a lot of surprises.
Right, and we've been doing wall-to-wall coverage, and we'll be right back after the break, but stick with us on our social media platforms.
That's right. Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and more. 12newsnow.com. We're still on with much more coverage. Stay with us.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Hey guys, it is Dejanique Garrison again, joining you guys from our 12 News Social Center. All night, we have been following the hashtag SETXVotes, and I want to check in with our reporters who've been all over the Golden Triangle, keeping us posted from campaigns, and here are some of the winners and the losers. So Paris Kane says Judge Branick gives his victory speech, says it's been the honor of his life to serve Jefferson County. But he's switching things up. He's been a Democrat for some time, and he decided to make a bet, switching over to the Republican side, and that bet paid off tonight. As you can see, his family here with him as he is making a speech, letting folks know that he is ready to get to work for everyone in Southeast Texas. But a different tone for this next tweet. Let's move on here, where you're looking at Lauren Hensley saying emotions running high as the projected winner for Jefferson County judge goes to Jeff Branick. Those supporting Nick Lampson, very emotional over those results. You can see right here, he's consoling his supporters. Definitely lots of emotions in the room, but he says he knew it was going to be close. He's keeping his eyes on the numbers, though. Says he's okay with losing, but wants to know how those numbers stacked up. So we'll keep an eye on those numbers along with Nick Lampson. Tyler Segerman, Republican Mitch Templeton being congratulated after winning the 172nd District Judge seat for Jefferson County. So this is a race that everyone had their eyes on, especially here in Southeast Texas. We knew it was going to be some new blood because the outgoing judge was retiring, just didn't know who because it was so close to call. Hugs all around at this camp. Then let's move here. Eric says the quantity of people seems to have gone down upon Cruz being projected as the winner. Not quite as much energy as earlier. And this is interesting because he's at Sugar's Well, where the Chappel campaign was camped out as well. So Chappel was going up against Templeton. And as you guys can see, it kind of reflects what was happening here in Texas. Everyone was talking about this blue wave that was going to sweep across the country. But it seems as if when it got to Texas, it just fizzled on out. Then you have President Trump. You know we've been keeping an eye on the commander-in-chief to see what he had to say. A man, a few words tonight, which is pretty surprising. Says, tremendous success tonight. Thank you to all. So it looks like the president is pretty pleased with what he's been seeing across the country. And I'm sure if he's watching Texas, he's extremely happy because Ted Cruz held on to his seat. Governor Greg Abbott held on to his seat. And as you can see here in Southeast Texas, a lot of Republicans are also making a lot of headway right here in the Golden Triangle. Guys, sending it back to Kevin and Erica.
Thanks so much, Dejanique.
Wow. Dejanique, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Great perspective there. That's interesting. What a night we have had. We've seen new people come into office tonight, and we have seen some stalwarts hold on to their office. We saw a controversial recall election in Groves this evening, and we have numbers in tonight that will give us a clearer picture of that whole
And
controversy.
it's a night for the incumbents, it appears. Brad Bailey, with 48% of the vote, will maintain his seat.
That's right. Elsewhere in some of the city council races in Ward 2, Karen Tice with a 66% victory over Corey Perry. We have a Ward 4 race. Kyle Hollier also with a victory, 60-40 over Daniel Diaz. But in the petition, the recall election itself, based on that petition, 63% of Groves voters said it was time to oust Cross Coburn, the city council person.
And stick around, we have much more. We'll be right back.
12 News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
What a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining us for 12 News Southeast Texas Votes on our ABC station.
We appreciate you being here. Flip over to KJAC NBC for more coverage. We'll be right back on KJAC NBC.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying up with us for 12 News Southeast Texas Votes. I'm Erica Harris. Boy, we have some huge races to talk about tonight. I'm going to toss it right over to Kevin Steele, who has perspective with the panel tonight.
Erica, huge races tonight and some extraordinary storylines emerging tonight. Our panel joins us tonight. Kent Batman, the Hardin County GOP chairman. Thanks so much for being in here tonight. W.L. Pate, Beaumont City Councilman. These gentlemen coming to us with analysis from the conservative side. Michael Lindsay with Lindsay and Parsons also here to talk from the left, along with Michael Cole, the former Democratic congressional candidate. Thanks, men, for coming in tonight. We appreciate it. We talked about this Senate supermajority that the Republicans did not have in the U.S. Senate, and there was big trouble because the Trump agenda could not go forward from the vantage point of the Republicans. And now the Republicans do not retain control of the U.S. House of Representatives. We start with you. What does it mean? Is it over for legislation that the president would push?
Well, there hasn't been a whole lot of legislation anyway, but the Republicans are closer to a supermajority after tonight. Thanks to Dianne Feinstein, and as I always say.
Michael Lindsay, Ted Cruz won tonight on the Republican side, but a great many losses on the Republican side in the U.S. House. Could we expect to see even more of a stalemate in Washington?
Who knows what world Trump will wake up in tomorrow. He may wake up and decide he wants to do business with Democrats and get together with some kind of a infrastructure bill to spend $1 trillion, or he may go to war with the Democrats and shut the government down for a couple of years. Who knows?
You can only hope.
Well,
What
you
do you
know,
think?
one of the things that I think that a lot of people overlook were there were 45 Republican House members that retired. Retired.
Yeah.
So you run the numbers, that's more than 10% of the House that were
Pete Sessions,
that they
struggled
stepped
in the
stepped
Dallas
aside.
area. Mhm.
And so that opened it up for a lot more opportunities for Democrats. So are we surprised that the Democrats took the House based on the numbers that we looked at earlier? The chances of the Republicans keeping the House were minimal.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, how does it sit with you?
And here's the thing. I think that the Democrats are going to have to decide whether they want Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House, because they're going to have to come up with another plan in 2020. Because the Senate, how many Senate positions did the Republicans pick up so far?
About 5.
4 or 5. And so it's not going to be close. And one of the things that I think we need to look at, the big picture, is how can we get together and work together. You know, the great thing about Southeast Texas is there were some great races that ran, some great people that ran, and when it's all over, we're all going to try to figure out how can we work together to make Jefferson County better.
Work it out and build
You know?
a consensus. Michael Cole, we turn it over to you. I have to ask you, because we talked about the Beto O'Rourke run for the Texas U.S. Senate seat, and we thought this might be the year of the millennial voter, that there might be a sharp spike in millennials, and especially in metropolitan counties. We're always looking for the big picture, what we should take as meaning from tonight's races. What did you see?
Well, what I saw was a Democrat who, by all accounts in Texas, shouldn't have even been on the radar screen. I mean, outside of El Paso, Beto O'Rourke was not well known, and suddenly he comes out to almost pull it off in the state of Texas.
He got the Beyonce endorsement today alone, and he did not pull it off.
But what to me that says is, one, tomorrow morning when Beto O'Rourke wakes up, what is he planning on doing next? I mean, does he start looking for a national ticket? Does he start looking at challenging John Cornyn in a couple years? I mean, if I was the Democrat running for president of the United States in 2020, I see a guy that narrowly loses in Texas, and he becomes suddenly VP material.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up from there. But when Senator Ted Cruz wakes up tomorrow, what does he think about his future chances and whether he needs to mend some fences in Texas?
We want to thank everybody that showed up to vote.
Yeah.
We had 25,000 more
Great
voters
panel.
in Jefferson
Great panel.
County.
With the hurricane.
And that says a lot. It says a lot about our citizens.
We have to run, but great analysis tonight, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Erica, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Kevin and the crew. Now let's take a look at some of the local races, some big ones out there tonight. We are going to start with the Jefferson County judges race. Incumbent Jeff Branick, he will remain in his seat with 51% of his vote. Slight lead over Nick Lampson. Melody Chappel, she loses tonight to Mitch Templeton for the 172nd District Court Judge. And we are taking a look at the Jefferson County Clerk. Carolyn Guidry is victorious tonight over Bailey Wingate, 49%, 51. County Treasurer Charlie Hallmark, right there, 50% of the vote, but it was a tight one. Only maybe a few hundred votes separates these two. Tim Funches, he loses this race. And Constable for Jefferson County Precinct 1, Javon Pollard, he snaps this one out with 52% of the vote over Charlie Wiggins. And Mayor of Groves will maintain his seat. It's a big night for incumbents in Groves. Brad Bailey wins this one with 48%. And let's take a look at those city council races. Karen Tice, 66% of the vote. She will maintain her seat. Also, Kyle Hollier with 60% of the vote. A big night for the incumbents in Groves. And the recall election against Cross Coburn for 62%. Not sure if this was going to hold up according to a judge's ruling earlier last week. And here's the bond issue for West Orange Cove Consolidated ISD, and 62% for the $25 million bond passes tonight. County Judge in Newton County, we have James Meeks with 71%. He is the winner tonight. And the state senator race here, and we have Robert Nichols. He succeeds with 77% of the vote. We'll be right back.
Thumbs up.
"12 News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Welcome back to our Southeast Texas election night. Votes counting here tonight. We've had a lot of fun. There's some extraordinary races out there. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm Erica Harris. Your voices have been heard tonight. A lot of big races. Apparently the blue wave everyone talked about hit a red wall here locally tonight. Let's take a look at some of those local races. First, though, we're going to take the governor's race. Governor Greg Abbott is the winner tonight.
Handily over his competitor, the former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez. Greg Abbott will remain in the governor's mansion in Austin. Also tonight, the Ted Cruz U.S. Senate race. Here's the Jefferson County breakdown. Jefferson County, again, historically a Democratic county, breaking for Ted Cruz, who was here just a few weeks ago. Am I seeing this right? Forgive me, folks. In that race, Texas U.S. Senator Ted Cruz won the statewide numbers, but lost in Jefferson County. If I saw those numbers correctly just moments ago, lost Jefferson County.
Senator Ted Cruz maintains his seat tonight with 51% of the vote.
All
and
right, let's move over
get some
for
perspective
some
from
analysis.
Tom Tassinger tonight. Oh boy, Tom, what a big night.
Huge night. Republicans survived. As you said, the blue wave never quite broke here. Beto, we would think, still has a future, but Ted Cruz has to be looking at his future also after 2020. He's going to be in the Senate for 6 more years, and he's an ambitious person. He's not thinking of stopping now. Let's just put it like that.
Right. Well, you know, there had been talk of Ted Cruz as potentially a U.S. Supreme Court justice. Maybe that could come into play. Maybe presidential aspirations remain.
Absolutely. And if I'm hearing correctly, the Republicans picked up a bunch of seats in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, which would make it easier to get a Supreme Court nominee confirmed. So if you had a slightly controversial nominee like Ted Cruz, it would be more than slightly controversial. Republicans could probably get him through with the numbers they have now.
And the Democrats will take back the House.
Yes, a big change there. That's gonna stop Trump's agenda. It's either gridlock or some sort of working together. I mean, those are the two choices, and it'll be interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah, the strategy that Donald Trump seemingly as president has employed in the past has been one of power. When you have enough power, you can move the agenda in your direction. Maybe that means that he's motivated in that way to accept that the Democrats now have the power
I
of the
get
House.
exactly what you mean, because I heard one analyst talk about today, how do you motivate people to the polls? On one hand, people said, like with Barack Obama, it was the hope and change message, but they figured that for President Trump, it will be the anger message, the message that we need to make America great again message, that message coming from a stance of power other than the hope and change type message.
Well, Erica, that's what he's ridden for 2 years and more. But again, now the reality is tomorrow morning or in January, there will be a House majority of Democrats. And Donald Trump can change. He changed a lot of ways in the short time he's been on the national stage. He could reach out with an infrastructure bill. You never know what might happen with him.
Well, you know, when we look back here at the local races, it's extraordinary to see that 2 Republicans are now at key positions in the county government, at the county judge, and now in the 172nd. And we've talked about the changing face of the political leadership in the county. We also see maybe something of a momentum in terms of the contributors into these important races. Does this cause some kind of a seismic change in terms of the donors that make local political leadership possible?
When you have close races, a losing candidate is always going to think, gosh, if I could have just raised a little bit more for a few more ads, I might have put it over the top. He had 2 close wins for Democrats, 2 close wins for Republicans in Jefferson County. Both sides are going to be energized to go out and raise more and do more in the next campaign in 2 years.
A lot of pundits were also talking about, since that President Trump has great job numbers, the economy is doing well, they were wondering why he didn't roll out that message instead of talk so much with immigration. But maybe after tonight, he will switch gears to talk more about the economy and jobs.
Erica, I think he's very capable of switching gears. In the last month, he did go from the economy to the migrant caravan. And as you said, now that has receded a bit. Maybe he will look up in January, realize I've got to do something with this Democratic House if I want anything to get done, and maybe he will change yet again.
And I think a lot of people took that frame of mind to the ballot box as well. The economy is doing well.
Right. It's surprising. Usually when the economy is this well, the party in power would be greatly benefiting from it. But it was noted by voters, but it wasn't quite the strong issue that it typically would be.
Allow me to gear down just for a moment with regard to the lawsuit this week by the Jefferson County Democratic Party to find and get a temporary restraining order in terms of mail-in ballots. I haven't noticed anything tonight that was so close that a couple of hundred votes would plausibly make a difference in the race. But I throw it out to you. What does it mean that the Democratic Party got that temporary restraining order, and will it have any effect?
I think it will, Kevin. This is a sore point with Democrats. They feel that Republicans are guilty of voter suppression. They think that Republican election officials are throwing out ballots that they think might be Democratic. Now, oddly enough, the one race that was close was won by
Judge
Charlie
Branick,
Hallmark.
Yeah, and Judge Branick, actually, there was a ballot, we talked about that earlier with his uncle, that had been rejected originally, and he was able to go and vote. So, you know, it could go either way.
The county was talking about forming a signature committee for the next election to review some of these discrepancies. If someone prints their name in block letters on one form but signs it in cursive on another, is that fair enough to say it's not a match, or if they leave out a middle initial? Those sorts of differences.
In the electronic age, it's sort of surprising we still have those questions.
It is. Kevin, we have self-driving cars. Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars, and we can't get voting right.
And we can't get the E-Slate Heart machines to work correctly. Thank goodness we don't have those here.
Okay, thank you so much. And as we go to break, we're going to show you the Beto O'Rourke rally. They're still waiting for him to appear. We'll be right back.
News presents Southeast Texas Votes, brought to you by Nature's Federal Credit Union.
Welcome back to Southeast Texas Votes, where we are looking in El Paso, Texas, at live pictures from the Beto O'Rourke watch party tonight.
His supporters are still waiting for him to come out and to speak to them about tonight's loss.
Under pressure, the song played just moments ago. Beto O'Rourke has had a pressured campaign, but I think in the minds of a lot of political observers would be found to have done a tremendous job, both in terms of fundraising, $60 to $80 million raised, but also just in terms of his connection with the voters of Texas.
You know, I think Beto is going to be in a lot of headlines tomorrow, even though he did lose this race to Ted Cruz. But they're going to be breaking down the numbers. They're going to be looking at the counties where, for instance, Jefferson County, he took Jefferson County tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see how those numbers fall and just how close this race was tonight. And I think we may see more of Beto O'Rourke in the future. I think his political capital actually
May have just gone up
tonight. Exactly.
That's right. We talked moments ago about whether Jefferson County has turned into a county that is a toss-up county, a purple county, so to speak, a neutral county. And maybe we're seeing that tonight in terms of the voting. You'll remember just 2 years ago, President Trump won Jefferson County, but by a slim margin, 48.9 to 48.4%. We've been listening to you throughout the evening. You've been showing us how you feel about tonight's election results. Our Adrienne Garrison is standing by with a look at some of the social comment out there tonight. Adrienne?
Hey guys, what I think is so interesting, we have a lot going on across the country, but if you look at the trends on Twitter following the United States, guess what? A lot of folks are talking about Texas. We have 1.8 million tweets about Beto. The state of Texas, 1 million tweets. Ted Cruz, 394,000 tweets. So guess what? Just because you're not in Texas, that does not mean they are not talking about Texas. So I want to take you guys over to the Smart Monitor to look at just a couple of tweets that we pulled in the last few minutes. Ted Cruz, of course, feeling real good tonight. So he says, thank you, Texas. Now let's get back to work to defend jobs, freedom, and security for Texas and for America. So we know lots of Republicans excited about this one because the nation was watching, but this was a nail biter. Beto O'Rourke gave him a run for his money, but in the end, Texans said, you know what? We want to keep this state red. Now, a couple of celebrities are also weighing in, so we want to take a look at those tweets. Alyssa Milano, if you've been following the Me Too movement, you know she is a huge voice and an advocate for women's rights. So she says, Beto lost? That's okay. Now he can run for president. And that's why you guys are seeing him trending. As everyone has been saying tonight, guys, he still has a future in politics. He made a huge showing on the national stage. And our friend Khaled says, Beto O'Rourke, your hard work and outstanding character will not go unnoticed. We love you so much. So I think tomorrow the name Beto O'Rourke will not go away. But for now, Ted Cruz and his supporters, they have something to celebrate.
They sure do. Thank you so much, Dejanique. Oh boy, what a great night.
A great night.
As we predicted, there would be a lot of tight races tonight.
That's true. Very tight races. Winners tonight, Cruz, Branick, Templeton, Hallmark, Guidry. The West Orange Cove bond issue is a yes. And Cross Coburn ousted as Grove's councilman unless reversed by a Jefferson County judge. A bit of the story of this remarkable evening. Thanks so much for joining us here.
But you know what, Kevin? I think the biggest winner tonight, you, Southeast
The
Texas.
voters.
The voters out there tonight came out in big numbers. We thank you so much tonight. Have a good one. Bye-bye.